nobody else. But then time caught up with my plans. And when the day broke, it exposed me for the fool that I really am. But you said, let me lead you, let me take you by the hand, yeah. So I can feed you from a good and precious land. All my eyes have seen, you're all I need, you're all I need, yeah. So now I'm learning to walk in your steps, and through the valley of confusion I've been losing my apprehension with death. But you said, let me lead you, let me take you by the hand, so I can feed you from a good and precious land. Now I owe it all to you, giving my heart to you, freedom becoming true. Nobody else like you, do what you promised to, and I'm so grateful for your love. And all my eyes have seen the wonders of your mystery received. I've tasted what it means. Now nothing else is good enough for me. You're all I need, you're all I need, you're all I need, you're all I need. Oh, I need you. Yeah, I need you. Oh, I need you now. Now I owe it all to you, giving my heart to you, freedom becoming true. Nobody else like you, do what you promised to, and I'm so grateful for you. I'm so grateful for your love. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. I need you in my life.
Grateful. What's up, everybody? We are live like we do it every Tuesday evening in the studio. Got my brothers here in the Lion's Den with me. It's a lot going on. They had the huge No Kings protests over the weekend. Then we had this war jump off between Israel and Iran. And, they're trying to pull us into it. There's a big fracturing going on in the MAGA camp. Plus, we got some other stuff that we're going to talk about. Just a lot going on. So we're going to discuss it. Looking forward to y'all joining in on the conversation. Make sure you hit that like button, and let's hit the intro. You're watching Young Lion TV.
Young lion, everywhere I look, they're dying. Everywhere I look, they're dying. Young lion, everywhere I look, they're dying. Everywhere I look, they're dying. Young lion, won't you get up and start fighting? Everywhere I look, they're hiding. Young lion.
Yeah. Like I said, Young Lion TV. We are live, and I got the brothers with me. Without further ado, shout out to everybody who's in the chat. I see you guys. Shout out to Edie Nichols and everybody else who's joining in there. Make sure you guys are sharing the video. Hit the like button and send this out to your friends because the algorithm does not appreciate the conversations that we have. They always suppress our videos. So we need you guys to share it. That's the best thing we can do to keep this thing going. If this is your first time tuning in, this is the Young Lion TV podcast where we get together once a week and we just talk about what's going on in the world and, you know, kind of debate things and give opinions and keep each other sharp. Iron sharpens iron. This is something that we've been doing for years as friends. We've been friends and brothers for, you know, almost our entire lives.
Well, you and Jake have been brothers for your entire life.
Yeah, we've been brothers my entire life. He only had about 15 months without me on the planet. But so we've been doing this our whole lives, just having these conversations and growing together as men, navigating the world, and made a lot of mistakes along the way, had to learn things the hard way. So a lot of these conversations we started having to try to help out the next generation, especially young men, young women that need to have information out there or have an example of people that are just hashing out these things. Because when we were coming up, nobody was talking about stuff like this unless you were watching like some late night discussion on some boring show that you couldn't really relate to. But now with the advent of podcasts and all this stuff that has been taken off in the last decade or so, there's a lot more people that are willing to have these conversations and listen into long form content like this. And we're just happy that we could be a part of it and show these conversations to that audience, and also keep an archive. I talked about this last week, something that even our kids can reference later. You know, who knows? There's such a, especially with how AI is now, I'm sure there's going to be a way where they can just like keyword search our podcast for when we talked about something and get our perspective on it. So if that's something that you want to support and get behind, you can go on over to our Patreon and become a member of the Young Lion community. Shout out to all of our Patreon members. We appreciate each and every one of you guys. You guys help us continue to, pay for the software and all the stuff that we need, the expensive equipment that we use to keep this thing working, and multi-streaming on the different platforms that we're on: YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch, or X and Twitch, simultaneously simulcasting on all of them. So it's because of your support that we are able to do that, and we hope that we continue to grow the community and continue to get support. Again, patreon.com/Young Lion TV. Link is in the description. Also, if you want to support on the Cash App, it's just $ Young Lion TV, also in the description. And we have merch available on our band's website, which is jatan.com/shop. Link in the description. But let me introduce my brothers in the building with me tonight. We always got to tell you, he's the coolest Asian in the podcast world. You won't find another one. I mean, they got Tiger Belly with Bobby Lee. He's not as cool.
He's kind of funny though.
He's funny,
sometimes.
but he's
a little
strange, and a lot of issues there.
Yeah,
a lot of issues. Like, so
your shorts are not as short today.
Well, we can't see them because we got rid of that angle. It was too controversial. We couldn't show Moon short shorts on TV.
Yeah. They were making fun of him on set.
James being extra at the barbecue.
Yeah. We had a
every
barbecue
time he
over
passed by me, he would kind of like go like this in my pants.
Yeah. But he is the coolest Asian in the podcast world. He's Mr. Simone Chang, my brother.
What up?
And sitting next to him, he just came here and brought me a very nice, cool white Barcelona jersey that fit perfectly. Yeah, I like it. So I appreciate that. He is my big brother, but he's everybody's big brother. If you know that, if you know him, you know that. He is the preacher, the teacher, the people reacher, Mr. Jacob Eugene Evans III. And he is the third because he is named after our father, who just had a birthday recently, a birthday, even though he passed, and Father's Day was on Sunday. So you were just talking about how you were reminiscing, going on his Facebook page, showing him to your son, who is the fourth.
Yeah.
So you were kind of showing him a little bit of the lineage,
Yeah, he was. He was like, oh, he's killing it on the bass.
Yeah, bro, you
Yo,
forget.
you forget.
You forget how much of a monster he
I
was on
remember
the
last
bass.
year, somebody had shared something.
I posted the video with him and Chubby Checker.
Bro,
Yeah,
man, I forgot how much of a beast he was.
Yeah,
And
man.
Watching that, it just like, brought me back. I miss him, man. I really do. I'm reminded every year, every Christmas, I always play that CD at the time that he that jazz.
it's called
Christmas.
the Jingle Ball Jam.
Yeah,
The jazz Christmas album.
yeah.
Yeah, that is that. As soon as I put on track one, that what is the first song? Sleigh Bells.
Yeah,
It just puts me right in the Christmas spirit. Yeah,
With the-
that whole intro.
Yep.
Yeah, man, that's such a just like a tradition now to play that. Even my kids, they're used to hearing it now. My wife and everything. But yeah, so Father's Day we just passed, and shout out to our dad. We miss him.
Yep.
But we got to keep it going. We got someone who is still here, and she just had a birthday on Saturday. Shout out to our mom producing the podcast. She just turned 69 years old. Wow.
With the Faith shirt on.
With the Faith shirt on, and she's
birthday,
still
Mom.
gorgeous. Her birthday was Saturday, the same day as President Trump's, the same day as Flag Day, and the same day as my daughter, Elise. They have the same birthday. So she is helping us out today. Shout out to my mom. We love her, Miss Angeli Lopez, holding down the production this evening. Woo! Yeah, and
Was that Pete? Was that Pete? Did you? Was that?
that sounds like him, right? And and I'm holding it down over here, trying to keep everything rolling, navigating these streaming waters like I do every week. Trying to keep all the clips loaded up and going. And I am every light-skinned guy with a red beard that you think you know or might be in your family. Yes, I look like him, I know. Jamie Evans holding it down. And shout out to our brother James, the half black, half
Said he's
Indian.
joining.
He's joining now? Okay, I'm sure we'll hear him when he jumps on. You remember how to bring him up, Mom? It should be. Yep.
Speaking of rehashing like old pics and videos and stuff, JB, was it last night you sent that picture
Yes.
from the Go Slow video?
Because I was looking through old stuff, and hold on, I'm gonna pull it up because I sent.
Stan was in it. It was the basketball scene.
Yeah.
where
I
we're
didn't
all
even see that.
No, I sent it to Simone and Stan because it
We
was
were
just
in there.
them two in it. Well, Pete was in it too,
yeah.
but hold on, let me see if I can find it.
Hey, I showed Jess. She was like, "Wow, wow."
Yeah, buddy.
Hey, but my basketball. I said my basketball shorts are the same size my son wears now.
Yeah. Oh, what's going? Come on. I hate when it does that.
Come on.
Come on.
You remember that scene, right? Where we were playing basketball
Yeah.
in the video and the BlackBerry rings. It was a BlackBerry, right?
The BlackBerry, yes. Yes. The BlackBerry
The
rings.
BlackBerry rings. His girl is calling him. We're like, yo, we're playing the
We're
game,
playing the game.
bro.
Yo, why is this not working? What is going on? This is not good. Let me see.
Jakey talking about my braids.
Because they were so long. He's like, no.
I know that's strange.
I mean, he didn't like it either, but he was just, because moans were like in front of him, you know?
You got to pat your waves.
Pat your waves.
You guys were singing at the show, TV show.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
showed it to
Yeah. He didn't like it. No, because he didn't like the songs we were singing. You were listening to the music. I was telling them that he was like, what we were singing about was bad. Like, I was saying that, it's so funny, like, because he's so used to only listening to our music or music, like he only listens to Christian rap, and so he don't like hearing no music that sounds like that at all. So it's just he was
She just
like,
got
Daddy,
JB
that
just
music.
doing stuff.
He's like, First of all, he was laughing because we were dancing, and then, but then he was saying like the lyrics, how bad the lyrics were. I was like, yeah, that's when we were trying to be cool.
I don't know why this is doing
It's
that.
still not pulling up, huh?
Yeah, this is weird. Let me see.
That's no good.
It's no good.
It's a no
man.
goo.
It's no
You can't
good.
pull nothing up then, right?
Yeah, if this don't work, I can't pull
Imagine
nothing
how
up.
he feels because he's looking at them now, but I went through it. But you guys,
Is your mic on?
I don't know.
There you go.
Oh no, I was saying, imagine your son saying that. How about me going through it the whole time when you guys started, and then all that those songs, and then I would go to your shows knowing that it was trash.
She said trash, bruh. She said trash.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks.
But I was there. I was there.
Yeah.
Well, love covers,
Yeah,
right?
right.
You had to learn. So while Jamie's doing that, I guess I could talk about
Yeah, that.
a little story I had over the weekend.
Yeah. Tell the story.
So, well, you guys heard this, but Moan hasn't. So, interesting story. Father's Day, we went to I went to Deptford Mall with just me and my wife, and I haven't been there in so long, dude. So
It's right next to mine. You ain't stop over.
yeah, I know. But we got out the car, and I'm walking to, through the parking lot, and I look to my left, and this guy's running, and like another guy grabs him, and the guy's like, "Help, help!" So it was a white guy, black guy, and then another black guy was chasing this black guy, right? So white guy, black guy chasing a black guy. And this guy who they were chasing, he had like an afro. He looked like he basically, I'll just put it to you, he looked like he was in his room all day playing video games. Right? So he was probably, I would say, in his 30s, right? So he's saying help. So automatically I go over there because it's kind of weird and I don't know what's going on. So as I'm walking over there, the guy who's trying to grab him is like, he just tried to have sex with a 15-year-old boy.
What?
I'm like, wait, what? So then now I'm walking faster, I start walking and faster, and he's trying to get in his car now, and he's like, he just took all these pills. His whole face was blue, like all around his face, and his tongue was blue from he had taken a bunch of Tylenol PM. Right, so he's trying to start his car, trying to get in the car. They're pulling him, and then I just held his door open because he was trying to close the door. So I'm like, no, you're not going anywhere. It was just, and then as I'm doing that, Leslie afterwards, she told me like, yo, you're like so calm, because I was like, nah, dude, you're not going nowhere. Like I just said it very calm. So Leslie was like in the moment I was like scared, but the way you said that was like just so nonchalant. Like, and so anyway, so then a cop shows up he was off duty, and he like tells him, take the keys out the ignition, whatever. So this guy was meeting up. What happened was this guy was meeting up with a 15-year-old, but it was actually a setup. So those two guys, that the black guy and the white guy who were trying to grab him, they set him up. So they had everything on their phones showing that he was bringing. That was another thing. Once they took him out the car, he threw all these Tylenol PM on the ground. So he had like probably 30 Tylenol PM in his pocket.
Wow.
20, 30 in his pocket. So what is he doing with that?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he was going to try to like drug this kid,
Yeah.
right? And
Because isn't that like the like NyQuil? Like they put that in like drinks or something like that?
they make you sleepy.
Yeah.
Basically, they knock you out. Like you can't. It's hard to stay up. And that's what was happening with him. Like he's like, as he's getting, he's like, oh, stop. Like, he was very weird and out of it because he had just downed all these Tylenol PMs
And then try to run.
and then tried to run. Yeah, because and
Weird.
as he was trying to run away, he's like when I came over, he's like, oh, I just want to die. Like, this is the stuff he's saying because he was caught. So I
Yeah.
guess now it's the reality is hitting him. He's not going to be able to get away. It's just crazy.
But it was a 15-year-old boy.
It was It was not a real
No,
15-year-old
but
boy.
I thought
Yeah,
it was a girl.
he-
But not,
No, it was
a
a
boy.
15-year-old boy that he was going to meet. And so they had a boy there, and as he went to meet him, they popped up and said, you know, they were,
That's my son's age.
yeah. And I just came from a 15-year-old party,
Yeah.
right? Jamie's daughter, which is like, yeah, your son's age.
Yeah.
It's just disgusting. But this stuff is happening a lot.
Yeah.
And, you know, I mean, I give it up to those guys who were there and are doing that.
Yeah. Catching these predators.
But, you know, they were a little extra with how they were doing it.
Yeah, I see some of those videos. They are really aggressive.
Yeah. Nobody was even videotaping it, which I thought they were trying to set them up and would be videotaped. But I didn't see anybody with a camera.
Yeah.
So,
Did you talk to them like before, after?
no, because the cops came. The actual cops came. So, because the one guy was there, he was off duty.
So you didn't know if it was like, you know, it was a 15-year-old boy that he was trying to like seduce, or they just like created a page.
Yeah, that's what they did. Basically, they made it look like there was a 15-year-old boy. They created a page. I don't know exactly, but the guy was showing the cop all the screenshots of everything that he was saying. You know, their chat back and forth.
Right.
So that's really it. And then the cops came, and at this point, all the pills are on the ground. This guy's whole mouth is, you know, blue, and he's looking crazy. And people started to come. So I was like, all right, well, nothing else we can do. Let's go. So we just went. We went in the mall after.
That's like 2 minutes from my house.
Yeah. But it's weird. Weird situation. Did you get it fixed?
Dude, it's still not working. I don't know what's going on.
Wow. Didn't this happen last week? Something
No,
like that.
no, not with this.
And James?
I don't
They
see
can't get him?
Nah, he's not on.
That works.
Yeah, but this stuff is starting to get more and more prevalent in the country. And I think it has to do with just depravity. Have you guys ever heard about Afghanistan? Like the craziness over there?
What about it?
Just the stuff that the men, like, it's a weird.
I've
it's a
heard of
weird
that.
place.
Like
You talking
Stories.
about them
having
sleeping
boys.
with goats?
sleeping with each other.
Oh no.
What?
Yeah, like
Isn't it Afghanistan that they have like sometimes like little boys do like dances? It was one of those countries.
yeah. Well, they have a whole boys thing going on. But I was watching something about it, and they use women for babies and men for pleasure,
Mm.
and it's just like normal over there.
How is that normal? How is that? Like,
And goats.
how is that
Like,
considered like? Because isn't Afghanistan like heavily Islamic?
Oh, I mean, this is something in Islam that is very like prevalent, but more undercover. Nobody talks about it. But I think when society, like if you think about Afghanistan, when things get so depraved, you know, Afghanistan, the thing about that is there's been so much war there for years.
Right.
So think about the trauma. Like when you go through war, you get desensitized to a lot of things.
Right.
Right? And then you open yourself up to a lot, even to deal with the trauma that you've been through. So I think we just see how religion can't do it for you.
Yeah.
You know, and you have to have a relationship with God, and where there is none, no matter how many rules you got, you're not going to be following them. And then the less rules happen, the more reality starts hitting you in the face, and you got to deal with things that you didn't have to deal with before.
Yeah.
And how do you reconcile these things? So then you just start accepting more and more into your life, and then culture just becomes more and more depraved.
Mm-hmm. Sounds like something else that's happening in the U.S.
Yeah. And I think you see this throughout the world, but again, you see it in the U.S. If we don't hold a standard, where do you get your morals from? You know, they're just, when people are like, oh, you shouldn't do that. Well, why not? Because we don't do that kind of stuff. Why not? Well, because you're just looking at a shadow of what was once there.
Mm-hmm.
When you don't have the meaning of it,
Yeah.
you lose it. So you don't know why anymore. So you're getting a lot of these people who, and that's why I said, like, this guy literally looked like he had like messed up t-shirt, all, you know, doesn't fit him. He's overweight. He's sloppy hair. He had an afro, but it was like everywhere, you know, and the blue mouth didn't help. But he just looked like he got out of bed and jumped in the car. How many people do that nowadays?
Yeah. Probably a lot more than you think. It's crazy. It's crazy you were right. You were there though. You know, it's like you were meant to be there to stop.
Yeah, and you know, we prayed for him, prayed for like the whole thing, because you know it's horrible what that guy did, but what that guy was trying to do and attempting to do.
He's battling a demon.
Not making any excuses for that.
Yeah.
So it's horrible, but you don't know what he's been through in his life. You know, what kind of upbringing he's had, what kind of demons he's let in, you know, so he needs help.
Yeah.
Yeah, crazy. On a lighter note, while we're waiting for Jamie, this is a very light note. So I go to Starbucks, right?
Leave it on one or two. Jamie.
And my wife has this. She had like a bunch of gift cards at Starbucks that she got. So I'm like, let's use the gift cards. Let's go to Starbucks. So it's just me and her, right? So after we left the mall, we went to Starbucks.
They was on a date. They was on a date.
Bro, I asked for a cold brew. I asked for can I get a cold brew with heavy cream, right?
It's another story of them messing up Jake's order, JB.
No. You're gonna understand. A cold brew with heavy cream. Okay, cool. So then we're waiting for our drink. There weren't many people there.
This is a different one.
This is the Defert Target one. Right?
Okay. That's not real Starbucks.
No, it's not. But it's still Starbucks. They're trained by Starbucks, right? So my drink comes. I'm like, wait, is this? I had to ask the girl, is this mine? Yeah. Okay. You only filled it up halfway.
What?
So I got a grande, right? It was literally filled up halfway. She said, well, that's how much you would have got if you put the ice in it. Because I asked for no ice. Well, you asked for no ice. So that's how much. I was like, wait, what?
So that's what they're doing now?
Is that what
I
they
mean,
do?
I don't know.
didn't know
They've
that.
never done that before. I always get cold brews and ask for no ice.
Yeah. I mean,
So-
I always ask for light ice, and they always fill it up all the way to the top. And when they fill it up all the way, the ice that they give, you know, they fill it up to the top too, but it's less coffee. Everybody know that, but
Yeah. I mean, usually I hate when I forget. Sometimes I forget no ice, right?
Yeah.
And then it's like you drink it in like one sip.
Yeah.
That's why it's like, I don't want. It's
and then you're paying like $5.
right. And that's what I was like, so when did y'all start doing that? She's like, that's what my team leader told me to do. I'm like, so you're not gonna give me? You're gonna give? I paid for a grande, but I'm only getting half.
That's crazy.
And she was like, well, that's what I said. I don't want this then. Just take it back. Because there's no reason. I'm not going to
You
drink
either give
half.
me the coffee or you lose this. You lose this
Yeah,
and
that's,
your product.
that's what I said. I was like, either I'll just get my money back or you can fill it up. So she like fought me. And it was really bad logic. Like her logic was so bad. And she was young. So I wasn't trying to be mean. I didn't want to get upset.
Yeah.
But it was just the logic that she was using made no sense whatsoever. Because she was like, well, then the portions will be off. I'm like, wait, it's just
cold brew.
It's just
coffee.
cold brew with heavy cream.
Yeah.
There's no portions.
Yeah.
Right? But I didn't say that. I'm like, I don't understand what you mean. I'm like, all you got to do is fill it up. I'm like, and then I said, well, it's okay. You don't have to. I'll just get my money back.
Yeah.
You know, and then she was like, all right, well, I guess I can fill it up, but it's not going to be the right portions. Like, all right, whatever. If she fills it up, we're good. You know, that's what I'm thinking. I'm not going to argue with you. But it was just.
What do you think her hang up was? Maybe they were told if someone asked for like, you know, an iced latte with no ice, then you don't fill it up all the way. But she didn't understand that doesn't apply to like cold brew. Like that wouldn't
Yeah.
make sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because if it's a latte, it's different. You know,
Right.
if it's one of these like drinks that they have certain amount of pumps, certain amount of coffee, certain amount of you know milk, then yeah, I can see how you know you can't fill it up because then it would be too strong of coffee or it would be too much milk. You know what I
Right,
mean?
yeah.
So that makes sense. But like then to apply that to cold brew is just like
It's coffee.
you're a robot. You don't understand like
Well, that's my point.
Yeah.
It just was like her mind broke at that point.
right.
And I felt bad for her because she couldn't calculate.
Yeah.
And all she kept saying was like, well, this is what my team leader told me. And I'm like, listen, I've been all over
Yeah.
the country drinking Starbucks.
We've had Starbucks in
never-
South
in
Africa.
I've never heard this before.
Yeah.
And I said, but if that's what you guys do here, then just give me my money
That's
back.
fine.
Because
Yeah.
I'm not going to pay for it. I'm not
Right.
going to pay $5.
Right.
Even though it was free because
Yeah.
it was somebody gave us. But
Yeah.
still, it's like that's the principle of
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
yo, you're not giving me a halfway filled cup.
Yeah. It's already overpriced.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, Mom. So now, in order to bring up the laptop, you got to hit the on button on the picture in picture. So,
Wait a minute, the laptop.
yeah, to bring my laptop screen up,
Oh,
you're going to hit the on button. You see when I was pushing that on button over there on the switcher?
on the
No, up higher. The picture, you'll see picture in picture.
Okay, sorry. Oh, picture in picture. Yeah.
Yeah, just turn it
Oh.
on. Yeah,
that-
boom. See?
Oh, okay.
So now look. See?
Oh, okay. What?
You see it? Up?
Yeah.
You see it up? Okay. So now when you want to bring it down, just hit off right next to it.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So that's when I tell you to bring something up, just
Okay,
hit the on
okay.
button now. We have to bypass desktop presenter. Yeah, this was the picture I sent to Simone and
So
Stan.
Simone went from no shorts.
Yeah. Look, now he's wearing shorts. He went from the baggiest. That's what I said. I said,
Jeez.
what are these, 4XLs, bro? Yeah.
What's crazy is I don't even remember
it bigger?
them being that baggy.
I can't make it bigger, or you can't make it bigger.
No, I can't make it bigger because of the situation we're in right now with desktop presenter not working
Look at
properly.
Stan.
I look
I
so
know.
skinny though.
The crazy thing is, like, dude, this was almost 20 years ago. And y'all, you and Stan don't look that much older than this, right? Right? Like, this
Yeah.
is 20 years ago. This was 2006.
Dang.
Was it?
Yes, that's when we
Wow.
filmed the Go Slow video.
Wow.
Wow. That's crazy.
Hey man. When you work out and you try
Yeah.
to eat right.
Ain't that
know?
crazy? Like, sheesh. I know I look way different.
Yeah, well, you got the whole beard thing going on.
Yeah, maybe if I shaved off the beard.
It's about time.
Listen, my
Dang.
wife likes the beard. It's not about what you like,
right?
Mom.
I like the beard too.
Yeah.
I like the beard too.
Dude,
I like it.
Yeah. But anyway, so you can take it down now. I just wanted to show that because we were talking about it and then we lost the desktop thing. But hey, we're back.
That's funny.
Yeah. So that was the picture I sent them. I found all the stills from the video.
Oh, for real?
and like the full video, dude.
That
so
video
many
is
vi-
cringy.
I found all
some points.
the videos and pictures from us at Tree Sound.
Oh wow! I know. Whoa.
Yeah, no,
Oh yeah.
yeah,
That was horrible.
yeah.
This producer had Jake singing.
Yeah. He had me singing the worst. And the whole time in there, I'm like, just thinking, all right, let me just do it. And we're not using any of it. Like, I knew already, like, none of this is going to work.
Yeah.
But
It's so sad because it's like, how many times have we gone, again, like when you think about By the River, that was another instance of it, where it's like, how many times have we gone down these paths where it's like, oh, you got to get a big producer to help you make a record. And then that's what you're missing.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get in the room with a big producer and you're like, what is happening right now? Like, this is not real life.
Mm-hmm.
And then you hear the final product and you're like, yo, this is horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's happened to us multiple times.
Yeah.
Big producer go to a studio. This dude, mixed and mastered this record.
Yeah,
or,
right.
know.
He
I'm like-
did. He did Shakira. He did Wyclef. He did, Justin Timberlake. Like, we've had it all.
Jamie's mix better.
It's so crazy, man. Or this stylist, he styled this one and that one. That's what you guys are missing. You guys need a real stylist. You guys need a real photographer, a photo shoot.
Did you show Jakey our holsters that we had
The
on?
picture right there.
I don't know. No, I don't think I did.
I'm not gonna do it.
I was just showing him stuff that was on my dad's Facebook or linked to him.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah.
It was funny.
Yeah.
It's good to reminisce.
But yeah, Father's Day. Shout out to all the fathers out there, man. Father's Day just passed. It's it's always a funny experience dealing with Father's Day, like, because the contrast between that and Mother's Day is so blatant. I was joking with the people here because that morning of the birthday, I had to go to ShopRite to, get a couple things or whatever. And I remember I went to ShopRite on Mother's Day weekend to get a couple things too. And I remember the huge display of like, as soon as you go in the door, it's like gifts, flowers, presents, big Mother Day, like, a big display with all the stuff. And when I went in there, Father's Day weekend, nothing. It was just like, you walk in and the main area when you walk in was just like summer stuff, like barbecue grills, like pool stuff,
Yeah.
like just like summer seasonal stuff. There was not
Right.
one
Not one.
Father's Day, nothing, bro.
Wow.
The grill is for Father's Day.
How's the grill for Father's Day? You see, this is what I'm talking about.
I'm just saying.
The
women
grill is
get
for Father's Day.
flowers.
Some stuff you gotta do,
Right.
Yeah, I
because
know.
everyone knows.
But I'm saying, what did you put, out there for Father's Day? Like, it's
Oh,
not like-
giving a dad a grill or something for the grill on Father's Day is like, what if we gave a broom or like a oven or an oven mitt
That's a
or
good- that's a good
for
analogy.
Mother's Day?
A
How
lot
would
of women
how would
get
women
comparison.
feel about that?
A lot of women get stuff like that for their birthday, Mother's Day. They get
Brooms?
No, they complain. They would
get- not
complain.
They get brooms?
Are
They get,
you
like,
kidding me?
toaster. They get like a, things like that. Like
Who
different-
gets a toaster?
now it's not
toaster,
toaster.
Mom?
No,
Maybe
now it's not.
Christmas.
I'm talking about back in
If
the past.
you get a woman a toaster for
No,
Mother's
not
Day, you in
toaster
trouble.
Now it's
I'm
like,
telling you right now.
Now it's like an air fryer, stuff like that.
For Mother's Day?
Yeah.
but the-
I mean, air fryer is different. That's like an appliance. But I'm saying like
but you
a
think-
broom, an oven mitt. Like what do y'all what is the typical go to for Father's Day?
Yeah, but
Attire, underwear, socks.
Underwear, socks,
Right.
wife
But
beaters,
That's what I'm saying.
right?
Why are they not gonna
Which I
put
like.
the-
I like socks. I love getting socks. I don't get.
Me too.
I don't get
Right,
enough
so
socks.
when you
Right.
walk in the door, you're not gonna see socks and underwear.
Why not? What?
Why wouldn't they? What do you
Because-
see for Mother's Day?
At least it's something. They didn't see.
Yeah.
Jamie didn't see.
No, but-
Honestly, I didn't see anything.
Think
either.
about it. Did y'all see any Father's Day like full
I
on
went. I went to
displays?
Walmart. I didn't see nothing. I saw like 4th of July stuff.
Yeah.
Nobody cares about Father's
barbecue,
Day, bro.
charcoal.
Yeah, that was one of the main things that Leslie said to me. She was like, when I went to get your gift, she was like, nobody was in the stores.
Yeah.
For Father's Day. Nobody's really shopping.
Nobody.
And then, because she wanted to go out to, we went to Sabrina's.
Okay.
And she was like, I was like, yo, it's going to be packed. It's Father's Day. She was like, well, it's not Mother's Day. It's not
Yeah.
going to be as packed.
Was it packed?
It was packed. But it
Yeah.
wasn't, it probably
Well,
would have been packed.
Mother's Day
Sun-
is you can't even go to restaurants on Mother's Day.
Yeah.
Weekends at Sabrina's though.
Yeah, it's always packed.
It's always
Yeah.
packed.
Yeah.
That's true. It wasn't crazy, though.
Yeah,
No.
'cause that's because they have the back room and outside too.
Yeah. Well,
They got a big area.
it was raining, so
Yeah.
go outside.
But online there's always the fight about single mothers trying to claim Father's Day for themselves. You know what I mean? That whole thing, which I find to be ridiculous because it's like,
Yeah.
you have Mother's Day.
You got your day.
yeah, you can't take Father's Day too. Like y'all want to so badly dismiss men from the existence, from our importance in our role.
Leave your trauma over there.
Yeah,
Okay?
exactly.
Like,
This is why the Democrats are having trouble connecting with men because like feminism and all of this crap.
Yeah.
Shout out to our boy Brendan. He said, "Hey guys, how's it going? What up, Brendan?
what's up?
Missed you at the game on Sunday,
Another
man.
dad.
Speaking of Father's Day, had a nice win on Sunday, Father's Day, and then the one of the guys from the team smoked a pork shoulder and brought some pulled pork to the game.
What?
We hung out for a little bit. Yeah, it was cool. That's another thing, because I was messing with the team because the Mother's Day game ended up getting canceled because everyone backed out. Like, oh, I can't make it. You know what I mean? Wives ain't having that on Mother's Day. I was like, I better see all of y'all on Father's Day.
That's funny. And it's funny because when we left, Ophir was saying, because I said, Happy Father's Day. And then he was kind of like, eh.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, it's important. He was like, it's just another day. I'm like, yeah, I get that, but give yourself a little more credit. Like,
Yeah.
you're just,
Yeah, we need to recognize fathers again.
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
fathers need to be recognized to the fullest, especially fathers that try and
Make
and are-
fathers great again.
Yeah.
I believe that too. That should be.
Thank you,
Why
Mom.
did Brandon say he's done with soccer?
He said, "Done with soccer, bro." I don't know. Why did you say that? He said, "I got to spend Father's Day at 2 different birthdays that James was invited to."
Yeah. Bro, why? Because one of the kids on our team, on Lucas's team, James, they did a birthday party on Father's Day.
That's
I'm surprised you went, Brendan. I'm not going to that. Like, I think another time they did Mother's Day. It was something. I'm not going to these. Yo, stop it.
We did it. See, the thing is, it's tough because sometimes we've done Elisa's on Father's Day before because we had a show on the Saturday. Like we couldn't do the Saturday because we had a show or something. So then we ended up flying back in and then doing her party on Sunday, which was Father's Day. But we didn't expect everyone to show up. You know what I mean? Whoever could come.
Well, it looked like there weren't many people that showed up at his birthday party.
Yeah.
But, I mean, because then you feel bad. Like, if it wasn't Father's Day, they could have came. But,
Yeah.
you know, it's Father's Day.
Brendan said he's reffing next season. He did tell me that he's going to be trying to ref next season. So
Reffing and coaching?
Yeah. He said he went to make James happy. That's his role as a father. Bro, your Father's Day is about making you happy, bro. You can't, you got to lay down the law on Father's Day. Yeah. Yeah, man, it's interesting. You guys ever see the Ali Sadiq joke where he makes fun of like how nobody cares about Father's Day when they ranked it on the on the list of holidays?
We played it on here.
Yeah,
before.
we played it one year.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
lower than Arbor Day.
Arbor Day. That's the. I was like Aldrin Day. I couldn't think of it.
Arbor
That's
Day.
the tree.
That's where
trees.
they celebrate trees.
They really don't care, dude.
Yep. And then women want to claim that too, man. But anyway, everybody
That tweet you sent, was that real?
What tweet?
That tweet from Canada. Didn't you
Oh
send
yeah, that was real. Yeah, let me pull that up. Hold on, Mom. Because I forgot about that.
That is a spit in the face of all the fathers. That was like something Canadian, right?
Yeah, it was. It was the Toronto Star. Okay, you can pull it up now, Mom. This is it right here. It says Toronto Star tweets out, on Father's Day, it's crucial to recognize the importance of mothers, writes Mark Bolguch. And then there's a community note, and it says, we do. It's called Mother's Day. Yeah. It's like, come on, man. Like, they're so desperate to eliminate men. What is the meaning of this?
Women that are, disgruntled or been hurt by men.
The first shall be last. It's always the people that want the celebration usually don't deserve it.
Yeah, I know. All right, so let's get into some other stuff, man. So not only was it Mom's birthday, Elisa's birthday, Father's Day, Flag Day, President Trump's birthday, there was something else that happened that was big over the weekend. You guys know what I'm talking about. It was the coordinated, billionaire-funded, paid-for No Kings protest that existed.
I thought you were talking about something.
No, we're going to get to that next. But the first thing I want to get to is the No Kings Day protests that were all over, not only just the country, but...
No kings, but only one true king.
I think James is waiting. I don't know.
Oh, is James on there?
I don't see him.
James, we don't see you on there, buddy.
he
sent a picture of him waiting.
Me for the last 40 minutes.
Did he click on the link? Did he click on the link?
Try going out, closing out the app, and then going back in.
Yeah, try going out and going back in, James, because we don't see you on there. So sorry, bro. We would have definitely brought you in.
Stuff isn't acting right today.
Mom, hit the screen on. Hit
The no
computer
kings,
on.
the no
This-
kings protest.
He said this was him
is
for-
hilarious.
Said this is him for the last 40 minutes.
That's about to be your profile picture, James.
Right? Okay. This is gonna be. We're gonna save him as this on all of our phones. All right, pull it down, Mom. Pull it down, please. No, there. Remember,
I am.
hit off. Hit off.
hitting
Yeah,
on,
there you
yeah.
go. Yeah. So, all right, bring it back up. I want to show this this meme that I saw. It
Oh
says,
yeah. That's the age.
yeah. This is all. It was all boomers out there.
It's
It was
weird.
all boomers. I mean, someone ended up getting shot. I don't know if you guys saw that. Someone got shot in where was that at? In Utah, right?
shot.
Yeah, someone got shot at one of the protests. There's a whole investigation now.
Yeah. Wasn't it the guy? He was like on some type of show or something. The guy who got shot.
The guy who got shot was on a show,
Yeah, he was on like the runway show where they.
Project Runway.
Yeah, I think so.
For real?
Thought I saw that, or maybe.
Project Runway.
Yeah.
I don't know. But let me just show this meme real quick. It said, imagine throwing a No King's Day protest after your party refused to hold a primary, anointed Kamala without a single vote, and attempted to remove Trump from the state ballots only after your illegal lawfare scheme failed. But then you're like, but we don't want no kings.
Yeah.
Trump is a king. And then Trump absolutely trolled everyone the next day when he tweeted out this. A huge thank you to all the No Kings protesters yesterday. I was very concerned the king was trying to take my place. But thanks to your tireless effort, I am still your president. Great job, all. Yeah.
These people are ridiculous.
Let me see if I can find what you were talking about, Jake. If this guy was
You know what a real king would do? You know,
not let anyone protest.
Not letting. Yeah, exactly.
Not let you
Off with the, what did they say? all
Off
the
with
time?
their heads.
Off with their heads.
Yeah. Let me see. Utah.
That's what a real dictator would do, guys.
Yeah.
You know, anybody who opposes, like Pol Pot.
Man who
Dead.
opened fire at the
Dead.
Salt Lake City, Utah shooting. No Kings drama was captured below. Multiple pics of the video. I don't know, dude.
Wait,
Yeah.
the guy that shot or
Seeing
got
it right
shot?
here. Man killed while protesting in No King's rally
Oh, the man killed.
was a Project Runway contestant.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I'm looking at, pull this up, Mom. This is the guy who did it, was this guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who was he though? Was he?
Because this happened in Salt Lake City, right?
Yeah, it happened in Salt
was
Lake
he
City.
opposing?
He's right there! Get on the fucking ground! Get on the ground! Get out! That's a fucking rifle! That's a fucking goddamn rifle! That guy has a fucking gun on his hand!
James said he's on now.
Is he on there?
Yeah. Arthur Faloza Alu
You see him on there, Mom?
I'm clicking on him, but I don't see it.
was 39, killed Saturday night when two men shot at a person allegedly brandishing a rifle. See, at the demonstration, at the demonstrators, when one accidentally struck Alu in the stomach.
So the guy who was shot had a rifle too. Or no, he was just innocent
He
bystander.
was just there. Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Yeah, I remember. I saw a video where like the people that were there were telling everyone to stop filming because they don't want any evidence of them being violent out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm clicking on Jane, but it's not coming up.
Let me see if I can figure it out.
It says Alu leaves behind a wife and two children, according to the GoFundMe page. For his family, they raised $100,000 in 48 hours. The self-taught fashion designer, known to many as Afa, devoted his life to doing good things for his neighbors and community. Yeah, I mean,
What was he? Alpha. What
Sad.
what nationality? 'Cause
I mean, it
remember
doesn't tell me,
watching
Mom. Doesn't tell me. He looks like he's Asian.
Oh,
Maybe
Might be Islander.
Maybe Samoan or what's the other one? Pacific Islander. Yeah,
Mhm.
something like that.
Hawaiian, Fiji.
See a picture. Where's the picture at? It's right here, but it's not.
Yeah.
his name is Rafa.
Yeah, he definitely looks like a
So his name is
Pacific
Rafa.
Islander. Hmm?
Rafa is his name.
Afa.
Oh, Alpha.
Afa.
Alpha Alu. Alu.
Yeah. Raf. Afa Aalu. Yeah, sad.
So they didn't really say anything about why the dude fired.
Yeah, they show him here with his wife and child.
Well, they fired because they said that there was another guy brandishing a gun, a rifle, but he didn't fire it. So then they fired at him. Firing at him, they didn't hit him. They hit this guy.
Oh, so there was two dudes that were two other
Yeah,
people.
there was a guy with a rifle. I don't know if he was there to protest.
Yeah.
I mean, either way, why you got a gun? Why are you pointing at protesters? Come on, man. But then at the same time, now it gets escalated because then they shoot at. And then they don't even hit him. They hit somebody there at the protest.
An innocent bystander. There he is. There he is.
Fellas,
There goes Alpha.
what's going on?
Yeah, Alpha has a baby, a little girl, and a wife. Sad.
Yeah, she's cutie. It's a shame. Okay. That face was hilarious, James.
All right, James is in the building.
What up? What up?
Brendan said Trump had them troops out there ASAP. That was in LA.
Yeah, for the ICE raids, the
Yeah.
ICE protests,
Yeah.
the peaceful ICE protests
Yeah. Mostly peaceful again.
that was happening in.
Yeah. When they were burning those Waymo cars. They were ordering Waymo vehicles just to set them on fire.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Where's this money coming from? Where's the like what we talked about last week?
yeah.
And you got the mayor talking about, we don't need the National Guard
Yeah, the mayor and the governor.
and the governor.
Yeah. So then also over the weekend, we had some huge news from the Middle East where Israel and Iran started going to war.
Yeah.
You can pull this up. You can open this up, Mom, so we can take a look at it. These are rockets being launched over Tel Aviv Israel launched a strike at Iran's nuclear facilities or something like that, trying to, they're saying it's a preemptive strike. They're calling it a defensive strike, even though it was preemptive, at Iran, saying that if Iran was able to develop these weapons that they've been threatening that Iran has been developing for, I have footage here of Bibi talking about since the 90s that Iran was weeks away from, nuclear weapons. So they took this strike against Iran and bombed these facilities. And then Iran came back and launched rockets at Tel Aviv. And, that just kind of escalated things. And now we're at a state of this really escalating into, them trying to get us involved in this war, boots on the ground type situation.
They're talking about nuclear. Pakistan's like if Israel uses, nuclear. Pakistan is gonna bomb Israel.
Yeah. Yeah, this is footage of Israel then retaliating and bombing one of their news stations, news headquarters in Iran. And this is, again, Tel Aviv being hit. This is footage from on the ground. The Iron Dome could only, stop a certain amount of rockets. I was talking to, so there's a few guys from Israel on my soccer team, Ophir, and then Talent Amir, and another guy, Shai, too. So we were talking to them about it, and they were just saying that, like, it's been a perpetual state there of just, like, every 4 hours or so, the alarms go off, and they have to go hide in these bunkers. Everyone has bunkers built everywhere. There's like, if you live in a community, there's a bunker that's built there for everyone. Like, and it'll go off every 4 hours or so because they're just constantly being bombed, constantly. And, even 4 or 5 in the morning, 3 in the morning, it just goes off. You have to get all your kids, your babies, and you have to go run and hide in these shelters just because you don't know where these rockets are going to hit if something gets through. Mm-hmm. And he's like, you just get used to it. Like, you're just, because all their family still lives there. And they were telling me about it. Like, you just get used to constantly running to these shelters, And it's a sad way to live, man. Sad way to live. And it's crazy because, like, when you look at what's going on there, and even though I don't agree with what Bibi Netanyahu has been doing and like the way he's been trying to get everyone involved in his drama, especially the U.S. Over all these years, the people that live there have nothing to do with that. The people that live there, like the people that I know that are from Israel, that are good people that just want to live their lives, they have nothing to do with that. And it's sad that they have to experience that as well. But then there's the other side of it where there are extremist sects. And I was watching, we're going to show some clips of Cenk and Andrew Schulz later debating about the Bible, but they were also talking about that, about how there are these extreme sides of both of those regimes. There's the Zionist extremists that believe that they are supremacists and that they're God's chosen people and they deserve this land and they can do whatever they want to whoever. And then there's the Islamist extremists that believe that they need to wipe out the Jews, you know what I mean? So you have those two factions that are battling with each other, but then you have people in the middle of this, like the Palestinians that just want to live their lives, the Israelis that just want to live their lives. So it becomes this whole mess. And then you get people that we've shown videos of the young Palestinian kids who get brought up and indoctrinated into the ideology of, like, if I see a Jew, I want to stab him, I want to kill him. And then you get the Jewish people that get indoctrinated into, a lot of these IDF soldiers. Me and James talk about this all the time. There's a lot of footage on X of them, like, doing brutal stuff to children, like just completely diabolical, evil stuff. Like, man, not caring, looking at kids as like cattle.
That's again, we were talking about Afghanistan earlier. Like, it's the same mentality. The more it becomes, you just said it's normal. Yeah, like you run to the bomb shelter. Yeah, and I think again that's the issue of the flesh. Like, you see it. What's rising right now in America? I think this black-white thing. Mm-hmm. People keep saying black fatigue. Yeah,
that's kind of shifted in the last couple of weeks because of the ICE stuff. Like, black people are kind of like, listen, y'all want us to get into this fight with y'all, and we're not, So there's been kind of this shift happening.
Well, I'm talking about, like, in terms of, like, the ghetto-ness. Yeah. Like, because it's not all black people, but it's the ones that are, the black fatigue thing is connected to people who have horrible upbringings.
Right. The trash part of the culture.
Yeah, children raising children.
Mhm.
But what I'm saying is it then polarizes people, because if you're seeing this stuff, people, if people are just seeing, see, they can point to it.
Yeah, right.
And it's the same thing.
Mhm.
It's the condition of the fallen human being.
Right.
And then we all think we're good judges because we get validation because we see it. And
Right.
That's not how you're supposed to judge things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it's definitely getting crazy. Trump put a tweet out telling people, "Pull this up, Mom," telling people to evacuate Tehran because they're expecting, something big to happen. This is Tehran, everybody trying to get out, and look at that, man. Thousands and thousands of people trying to evacuate. People are posting.
Did you see the videos of Iranians like celebrating when?
Of course,
they were getting,
of course,
in America, too. Yeah.
Of course they are. I mean, you're talking about ideology that goes back thousands of years.
I mean, if you think about it, though, and me and Ophir were talking about this on Saturday. He was born in 1979. I was born in 1979. That's literally the time that's the year they became a regime. The Ayatollah.
Yeah. That was when they had the revolution in Iran. Yeah, in Iran.
And came to power.
Yeah.
So, it became a regime where they had power in Iran. So it's not like it's so far. This is 40-something years that this has been going on. But there's people who remember before this.
Yeah, of course. I see videos on X of women that are like in protest and they're taking their hijabs off. They're dancing in the street because they're not allowed to do those things there, But I'm just like looking at this as I see how they're trying to pull the U.S. into it. And I see how this is fracturing Trump's base. Because the type of the stuff that he's saying, the type of stuff, it's reminding me of weapons of mass destruction all over again, because it's the threat of Iran having nuclear weapons and what they're going to do with them. And, do they really have them, though? We don't know. Like the whole Obama deal that happened where he was helping, he gave them billions of dollars. You guys remember that? Like, yeah. And let me show this video because people are sharing this over X. These soldiers are getting what it means when soldiers get these meals.
Shrimp and lobster.
Steak and lobster.
The steak and
That's it.
lobster.
Steak and lobster.
Yeah. You know what this means.
That means it might be their last meal.
Right. It means that they're about to head out. Yeah. Right? Why would they be posting this right now? Why would they be posting this right now? And it's looking let me show this article from Newsweek. It says Trump's most favorable pollsters warn it could be all over for MAGA. Just talking about the way this whole topic right here is causing a huge rift in the MAGA base, because a lot of the people that voted for Trump, a lot of people that they voted for him because no new wars.
Yeah.
He promised to end the conflict in the Middle East. He promised to end.
The dude, I'm sorry to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
It's reminded me of the dude, I think he ran for senator. He's from our area, the Belmar gym guy, Attila's gym guy.
Oh, he ran?
Ian Smith. I think he ran for something, like a seat in Congress or something like that. I don't think he won, but he is like now
done with Trump.
Yeah. He's pretty much said the same thing you had mentioned. You promised to stop the war in Ukraine.
Yeah.
The conflict, between Israel, where he's like, we're in 3 wars. We're about to be in the 3rd war.
Yeah.
So it's like, you see the split happening.
Yeah. I mean, Tucker Carlson came out and criticized Trump. Dave Smith, I got a video of him talking about Trump should be impeached if he does this, yeah, it's getting crazy. This article says President Donald Trump's most favorable pollster has warned that it could be all over for MAGA if the president gets the United States more deeply involved in the conflict between Iran and Israel. Kiss the Republican majority goodbye for the next decade, Rich Barris, the director of Big Data Poll, wrote on X, formerly Twitter, if he pulls the trigger on It's All Over for MAGA. Newsweek reached out to Barris to further comment via the Big Data Poll website. Big Data Poll has given Trump the highest approval rating, 19 plus, of all pollsters in his second term so far. It is one of just 2 pollsters that are yet to record a negative approval rating, although its most recent survey recorded a major drop-off in approval, giving Trump a rating of just +1. So they're basically saying that, like, if he does this, it's going to fracture the base so much that all of the momentum, everything that he did to raise this coalition could be over with. And, you know, we'll see. We'll see what happens. But I'll tell you what, like, you got people that jumped on board with Trump and really went out there to get people to vote for him. Like I said, Tucker Carlson, Dave Smith, Candace Owens even came out today, like, you know, bashing what Trump is doing. And
she's been criticizing him a lot, though.
Yeah, she's been criticizing him.
She can't stand Israel.
I think she can't stand Bibi Netanyahu.
Yeah, but I think she's a little.
She's extra.
I don't think. Yeah, I think she's biased. She's biased. Like, there's certain things where she just puts blinders on and then she just goes. I don't think she's
like what?
Like this. Like the whole Israel thing. She's not. Everything she says, I don't think is based in logic. Certain things she said, I've heard her say about, like, when she did the research on some stuff about the Jews, she's been debunked on. Like, there's been things where I don't even the gossip stuff that she gets into, like, it's not all like the Justin Bieber, the
like the Scooter Braun, but it's the same. It's the same thing though. Like, I think she's biased. I think she runs with something and she gets it in her head like this is what it is. And I think she doesn't like what she sees is happening over there, and she's calling it out like she sees it. I don't know if that
is she criticizing?
Does that make you biased?
I think she's genuine. She genuinely believes what, you know, and she always tries to back it up with, like, you know, what she thinks is.
Well, is she criticizing Judaism or is she criticizing Zionism? Because there's those two are different things.
Yeah, but even Zionism, you can call it like that can become. You can call something Zionism that isn't really Zionism, and some Zionism could be good. Like, it depends on how you see it. It's very, like, it's hard to define these things.
Yeah,
like Zionism, it's hard to define. That's my point. Like,
yeah, but I think if you're calling out the Zionism that thinks that there's a supremacist view of Zionists and of Israel as a whole, like, that's you should be able to call that out.
Yeah,
I don't have no problem with that. But what I'm saying is, from me and what I see with her, I think there is confirmation biased with her sometimes. I think stuff that she points out is true. There's stuff that's right, but then I think she goes too far. Even with Kanye West, like, she never says she does. That's her friend. Like, come on. I just think she doesn't see things correctly all the time. Like,
of course,
she's a Catholic,
right? Right. No, but no one. You can't expect everyone to see things correctly.
What I'm saying is, though, that you see the bias in how she speaks about Kanye West.
Yeah.
And how she sees things, right? That's all I'm saying, and I see that in how she talks about Israel.
Yeah, but what I do appreciate is the fact that she is willing to say the things that other people seem to be afraid to say, like when it comes to her debate with Rabbi Shmuley and, like, the type talking points that he had. And
I mean, because Rabbi Shmuley he's wrong in like the majority of the stuff.
Yeah,
he
the
says.
other rabbi that she debated with too, that was trying to talk about what anti-Semitism, the definition of
Oh yeah,
you know, like
absolutely.
so.
But that doesn't take away from her then going further
Right.
with it, and I think that's what she does that is wrong. You know, she takes things to another level and starts making correlations don't exactly fit, but to an outsider it might seem like it fits. You know what I mean? That's where I think she takes things too far, and that's where people can. That's why I'm saying confirmation bias, because you know I was just watching this thing today about the stuff people are bringing up, like the Talmud and Jesus in the Talmud. And there's a few spots where probably ain't even talking about Jesus, but because the mother's name is Miriam, right? And it's Yeshua, but Yeshua was a common name. But then it says he was stoned, like, but they don't bring that up. People will use one part, right, and say, "See, they're talking about Jesus,"
Right.
And they're not. You get what I'm saying? Like, and people will just run with that because they heard somebody else say it instead of researching the stuff for yourself. And I want to know the truth. And if we don't have the truth, then you shouldn't be talking on it.
But what is that? Did Candace bring up something about the Talmud and Jesus?
No. But she brought up stuff about like I can't remember the exact she was trying to make correlations.
I know she brought up the Schofield Bible.
Yeah, which she said some stuff that was true and some stuff that was false, even with that. Like, but she brought up stuff. She was trying to connect, like, I can't remember the name of these people.
The Franks,
and the way she was connected it. And I researched it.
Yeah.
So I'm like, is this true? And it didn't really correlate the way she was trying to make it correlate. So that's my only thing. Like, I want to know the truth.
right?
And sometimes,
But this is my thing. So, what is the truth behind what do they think about Jesus? What does it say in the Talmud about Jesus? I mean, I've heard them out of their own mouths. I've heard rabbis say what they think about Jesus. I've heard Ben Shapiro say what he thinks about Jesus. You know what I mean? I've heard them.
Just a guy that did some stuff, right?
No, he's a guy that tried to rebel. Well, Ben Shapiro said he's a guy that tried to rebel against Rome, and he was killed for
his trouble.
For his troubles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and that's something that you hold somebody to the fire and debate them about, because that's not an intelligent answer from an intelligent person. You know what I mean?
Right.
But again, is that the truth? Obviously not.
Yeah.
You know, that's something you hold people to.
Yeah.
But regardless, like if it's that with Ben Shapiro, if it's with her, it's the same thing. And I'm starting to see, like, even with the other guy we were just talking about, the guy with the red hair, brownish hair, news guy on Fox.
Red, brown.
He's off of Fox now. He's doing his own
Carlson?
Tucker Carlson. There you
Red
go.
hair.
Red hair.
His hair is like brownish red, right?
No.
What?
No? All right. Anyway, even with him, like, sometimes I'm not with everything he says. Sometimes I think he's a little biased, you know? And granted, everybody could, but
Yeah,
I
think
think
that
everybody is a little biased.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think that it seems like anybody who brings on people that challenge our narrative when it comes to Israel, it seems like it's hard for people to get on board with that. Like there's a lot of
Because why? Look at what happened to Candace.
yeah,
She gets canceled.
right.
She gets taken off of the Daily Wire.
yeah, but then she goes too far. Like,
But at the time, she didn't even say anything.
You're right. But then she goes too far. Like, you can't, now you want to prove yourself type thing. And that's what my point, like,
So
Yeah, but
so
my
what-
thing with
but-
Tucker was he brought on the guy that just challenged the narrative about World War II just a little bit, and all of a sudden he's an anti-Semite.
I'm not even talking about that.
Yeah.
I'm just saying in general, like,
James, you gotta mute, bro. Like that, all them noises is killing us.
in general, I'm just saying that we gotta be able to see, like, people bring up good points or something. Oh, I never heard that before. It doesn't mean we just go and run with it.
Yeah.
We have to research the stuff.
But I like the fact that it makes somebody research something, because how many times have we heard the one side of the story and never researched it?
Right.
You know what I mean?
My point is that we're dealing with so many people that just follow, and it's becoming an issue. And what I'm saying is that I think it's a prayer point, that if we want things to go the way God desires them to go, then we can't get caught up in it too.
Right.
And we need to pray, and that should be at the forefront. And everything else that we're not sure about, we got to stay unsure about.
Yeah.
Because we don't really know.
Definitely.
I
agree with that.
Like, do I think that Israel is doing some shady stuff? Heck yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do I think this
Just
country,
like every other government,
but it's just why is
ours.
it that's the only country you're not allowed to say that?
it shouldn't be.
Right.
It shouldn't be. But my thing, I'm just saying, like, but let's not take it too far where we don't really know.
Yeah.
If we're in that gray area, we don't know, then we shouldn't be talking on it.
Well, I mean,
we can ask questions about it.
We can ask questions, and we can bring up theories about, like, because we do it all the time with this country when it comes to 9/11 or when it comes to these conspiracy theories, quote unquote.
Yeah, I have no problem with that.
Right.
But what I'm saying is that when we take things and we start, well, they're doing it because of this, they're doing it because of that.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're trying to make facts on stuff you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
You get what I'm saying? And then that's where we start getting divisions and people start running with these ideas, like Kanye.
Yeah.
And I know that's an extreme.
That's a huge extreme.
But it's easy. What I'm saying is it's easy to see, right? That's why I'm bringing it up.
She always does say, like, it's her opinion, and do your own research.
Yeah.
She doesn't.
I honestly, like, I get what you're saying, but I appreciate what Candace is doing.
Yeah.
Because I think we need voices like that are gonna raise those questions, that are gonna make people just at least not just blindly follow everything that they see.
Yeah. But
she's not afraid to question what Israel does.
I mean, yeah, I don't have cool, but sometimes your questions make no sense. Like, sometimes you're putting stuff together that don't really correlate. That's all I'm saying. It don't, like, when you can do some basic research and see that. You know what I mean? Like,
well, then that's why those ideas will fall flat. You know what I mean?
But not for the ones that ain't going to do that. Like, they're not going to do it. The fans ain't going to do it. Whatever Candace says is true.
Yeah,
whatever Tucker says is true.
But you're going to have that with everything. You're going to have that with everything. You know what I mean? Like,
yes. But that's why I'm trying to say that we pray as believers, because this is where the gray areas are. Like, sometimes she does say stuff as a matter of fact, like, oh, well, it seems like, even though she doesn't say it, the way she says it, it's like, I mean, it seems pretty obvious to me. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is the stuff she does. So that's all I'm saying. Like,
because that's how she,
it doesn't matter
how she feels. At least
doesn't matter if
at
that's
least
how she
she's
feels.
true. You're right, but at least she's true to herself, not like legacy media who knows that they're lying about something. Like, oh, Biden is sharp as a whistle.
Yeah.
but
you know what I'm saying? And then write a book later on,
or just blindly saying Israel is our strongest ally. We can't criticize them in any way.
But it's still, in my opinion, and I think this is the truth, it's still irresponsible to do it if you're leading it in that way, and you're like just because you think it might be true, you don't know. You know what I mean? And you're leading these things. That's all I'm saying. Like, I see that a lot, and it's dangerous.
I run away. I don't like when people say things are dangerous, because that's used as a control point and as a spell.
I think
a lot
you need
of
to see things are dangerous when, like, it's dangerous for my kids to just run out in the street if I haven't taught them to deal with stuff and to check and see how to play in the street, right?
Yeah, but you're talking
It's
about
dangerous.
you're talking about people saying something. is
Yeah.
dangerous.
No,
Words.
I'm
when you
saying-
start saying words are dangerous.
No, I'm saying that it's dangerous to be to use stuff in a way where you think it's what I'm saying. If I tell my kids, yeah, that person over there, they're evil, and can't you see that? It seems to me like they're really evil. Do you see it? That's dangerous because I'm actually creating their vision in a roundabout way. I'm actually creating their perception. You get what I'm saying? Like that's what I mean. I'm saying that is dangerous when people can't see it. When kids can't see it.
Yeah, but is it dangerous to when someone is constantly trying to tell you how great they are and you say, wait a minute though. Don't just believe what they're saying. Like, look at this pattern of this and this and this. That's not dangerous. That is trying to give perspective.
That's not dangerous.
But that's what is being
That's what-
done.
Yeah.
But again, you can take it too far. And then it becomes dangerous. When you are trying to tell somebody the intentions behind why they're doing it, sometimes you don't know what's going on behind the scenes. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Like
I agree
and
with
when
that.
when you go and say, well,
Yeah.
it makes sense that they're probably you don't know that.
Yeah,
Now,
I just don't like. I see that there is a asserted effort by a lot of people, especially in legacy media and the elite class, to stop people from questioning anything.
Yeah.
And I don't like that. I think we should be able to, even if you think that her making assumptions of what people's intentions are is dangerous. If dangerous in what way? Like someone's going to get hurt?
And she's had
Could get
debates
hurt.
with rabbis.
yeah.
She's had debates with rabbis, and they haven't refuted anything that she said. They're just calling her anti-Semite and screaming at her.
Well, the debates that she had with rabbis are the earlier debates. The stuff that she said later, she never had debates on that.
No, when she went on Pierce Morgan recently with Rabbi Shmuley.
No, I'm talking
And-
about the stuff that she said later. She never had a debate about that stuff.
What stuff that she
Well, she's
said?
offering.
Stuff she was talking about the
she-
Franks and all that stuff. Like, she never had a debate. She never talked to anybody about that.
Yeah.
But she said that she's willing to speak to anyone who would come on and talk to her. She said she's open. She wants to speak to them. That's how I look at it is if she's saying, hey, listen, I would like to have a debate and I'd like to discuss this fact, then come on. You just give her a chance to speak and give them a chance to speak and let the public decide.
Yeah. But again, I'm seeing this from the side
But
of
no one had a problem when she was calling out black culture, which we all agreed. And she was calling out the ills of the music, the culture, the trash
it's
culture,
not-
which is
I don't-
true.
I
Which
don't
is
have
true.
a problem with any of it.
Which is
but
true. Which is true. But why is it that there is seems to be you can't speak about this one particular culture, or you can't speak about the music industry, you can't speak about entertainment industry. You can't say they
You
run
can.
it, which they do.
You can until you start to mention certain facts. Then you have to.
Right.
Then you're getting into, they're making laws around this.
It's funny. I had
speech laws around
I actually
this.
forgot that I had a video about this. This thing that we're talking about, like
Really?
how Jews are, like, what's the word? Disproportionately, like, a part of the media.
Yeah.
Like leaders in the media.
Mhm.
And this guy, he broke it down really well. It was really good. And I think there's some factors sometimes that people aren't paying attention to. That being said, we should be able to ask questions about this. I have no problem asking questions about that. But my only thing is when we start to make, like, when you're talking about black people, there's no ill intention that she's bringing and pushing behind it. That's the difference. Like, yeah, that's right. Yeah, because we're just speaking facts. Why are we dealing with this? Why are we dealing with that? Like, this stuff shouldn't be. Exactly. Why is there people pushing this type of music to our people. It shouldn't be, but we got to take some of that responsibility too, right? Because if you don't allow them, it won't happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, it shouldn't be happening, right?
Right.
It shouldn't be happening. But if you go further and then try to act like you know the intention, you don't until you do.
Well, let's show an example of what you're talking about, because she went on a rant over a year ago. I have a video of her talking about intention, and let's see how off she was about it. Pull this up, Mom, please. Hold on. What is that? Hold on. I'm getting the audio from somewhere. Oh, that's the bombing. All right, here we go.
Who shows up in America and suggests that we need to go to war with a country, we instantly go to war with the country. Take a look at this compilation.
If you take away the Soviet Union and its chief proxy, the PLO, international terrorism would collapse.
If you take out Saddam's regime, I guarantee you that it will have enormous positive reverberations on the region. Obviously, we'd like to see a regime change, at least I would, in Iran, just as I would like to see in Iraq. The question now is a practical question. What is the best place to proceed? It's not a question of whether Iraq's regime should be taken out, but when should it be taken out? It's not a question of whether you'd like to see a regime change in Iran, but how do it...
Are there any other nations that you would recommend that the United States launch preemptive attacks upon at this point?
The answer is categorically yes. The two nations that are vying, competing with each other, who will be the first to achieve nuclear weapons, is Iraq and Iran. But a third nation, by the way, is Libya as well. Libya is trying very rapidly to build an atomic bomb capability. So you have here now three nations.
All stand together to stop Iran's march of conquest, subjugation, and terror.
Iraq, Libya, Syria. He says it, we do it. And now he's saying that Iran might kill President Trump.
Now, I'm just playing this because this was back when the assassination attempt happened on Trump, and we showed the news article where Israeli intelligence dropped this information saying that Iran was the one trying to assassinate Trump before the election. So this was back in the summer of 2024, right? So that's just the context of why she's even talking about this.
And if he does, then we just better all say we're going to war right now and not ask any further questions. Let me tell you something right now. Something happens to President Trump, I'm going to have a lot of further questions. And I'm going to make this statement to the American people. Please listen to me. Do not send your sons and daughters to fight in this planned war. They have been planning this war for years, okay? Do not believe them when they say they have weapons of mass destruction. They have been trying this strategy for years in various countries that they want war with, okay? Stop letting these elite oligarchs, very small group of them that benefit from these never-ending wars, allow you to be deluded into emotionality and irrationality and to allow your children to die on foreign soil. Not a single American daughter or son is going to die overseas for this planned war. Make that commitment. Genuinely make that commitment to yourselves.
So now you look at what they're claiming and why they're teasing the idea. Trump's teasing the idea of sending troops. Lindsey Graham is talking on the news, talking about how we need to put boots on the ground for this. I mean, she made a bunch of assumptions there about the intentions, and it seemed like a lot of that stuff ended up being pretty accurate.
I mean, there's intentions behind why America wanted to do this.
Absolutely, but also you don't think Israel too?
Yeah, probably, but I'm saying like there were intentions behind why America wanted to go. They were looking for reasons to go to war with Iraq.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
But she also showed that he was also advocating for it as well.
Yeah.
he was telling them, he was giving speeches saying that if we topple Saddam Hussein, that's going to
need a
bring peace.
regime
It's going to
change.
stabilize the Middle East. He was saying that we need to do this.
Yeah,
to
but he's looking
stabilize.
for he has his own interest.
But that's the point,
Yeah, he has his own interest,
right?
but America has their, and I won't even say America. American politicians and some of those people, they're looking at their own thing.
Right. But what I'm saying is that's what she's pointing out. So to me, her pointing that out,
But it
is not,
it doesn't mean that just because he's saying that and then they went to war, it doesn't mean that just because he said it. There was stuff that was shown why they wanted to go to war with Iraq.
well, yeah, there's a lot of factors at
Yeah.
play. But what I'm saying is like you can't totally dismiss the fact that it seems like there's a huge link between what America does and what Israel wants.
I mean, yeah, but at the same time, like, is it obvious that Iran is backing Gaza, or I would say
Hamas? Yeah, but so was he.
Hezbollah?
So was he. He was funding them. Like, we know this for a fact.
I don't know that.
You didn't know that Bibi Netanyahu was
No, I
funding
heard, like,
Hamas?
No.
Yeah, he was propping them up because he wanted to keep the he said, I forget what his exact words.
And even if he was, that's evil.
Right.
Right? Not saying it isn't. But and if he's trying to get into something, that is evil, right? But what I'm saying is, why is he trying to do this? What is his intention behind it?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, is he doing it out of fear, thinking that's going to help his country? Or is he doing it for other sinister reasons?
Yeah.
We don't know. Is Iran a problem? Is there issue? You know what I mean? Like, and the whole Mossad thing, there's issues there.
There is issues.
I'm not
there.
saying so. I'm saying
what caused who brought Mossad to power? Like, the U.S. is involved in a lot of this stuff.
Yeah, and so one president, Trump, can't fix all this crap that's been going on for decades.
Right.
Right.
But you know, when he claims he wasn't going to get involved or he wasn't going to, you know, jump into wars, and then you have people that voted for him on those bases and looked.
Yeah, that's what he's getting
you know,
criticized for.
Yeah.
So that's why you have people that like Candace, like.
But sometimes sometimes things are unavoidable.
I agree with that, and I
know?
don't think it's that cut and dry.
Yeah.
I'm just pointing out the fact that, like,
because
this is
the
what's
way
causing.
she's talking. I'm not with it. Like I'm not with it. The way she's talking, I think some things are unavoidable, but I think that
Do you think Iraq was unavoidable? Do you think that was because they were talking the same way about that situation?
I think Iraq was unavoidable.
You think we had to go?
I think
in?
it probably could have been unavoidable. Now, I don't know enough to say, like, I think they kind of set that up. Was Saddam horrible? Yeah. I mean, we saw a lot of stuff he was doing over there.
Yeah, but did we need to go in there and risk
we need to
and have millions of people die?
No, because I'm sitting here, Pise lost his legs over there.
Right.
So, yeah, I don't agree with it. I think that was wrong. But we can't go back and change it now.
No, but what I'm saying is that a lot of the same tactics are being used. Like, just because they're dealing with a situation there doesn't mean that America is the one that is supposed to go in there. Like, what we did in Iraq, we're told the story of we went in there and brought liberation to the people, but it don't seem like that.
I mean, definitely not. Because
That's what
there's
they
a
tell
deeper
And in
issue.
Libya too.
Yeah, Libya is a prime example of that. They took out
Afghanistan.
Gaddafi.
Yeah.
Afghanistan. You know, Pat Tillman, the ex-football player, was writing his wife saying that we're over here fighting a war and these people have no idea what we're talking about. You know, and he was unalived in a training exercise. I think she showed a pattern that he has, that Bibi Netanyahu has. And that's, she's showing a footage and she's saying, hey, listen, this is the same tactic over and over again to get us into these wars.
Yeah, dude, there's a whole documentary on Bibi Netanyahu that they took down from all the streaming platforms, but I was able to watch it because Ian Carroll showed footage of it, where people in Israel did this documentary showing how, like, this dude is one of the most corrupt prime ministers they've ever had. And, like, he's been under investigation so much, but he's just constantly doing things to keep himself in power so that he can't, because they've imprisoned past prime ministers and they've done that. They've locked up people in the past that were corrupt. And there's things that he's doing to keep himself, like the October 7th thing. A lot of questions are there about how that happened, about why they pulled troops from the border, about how they did the strongest intelligence agency in the world didn't know that this was going to happen. They allowed it to go on for so many hours. But what was supposed to happen that same week was this huge protest against him. And, it's just, it's a weird situation. Let me show this other video of him constantly telling us how Iran is about to have nuclear weapons.
Iran could produce a nuclear weapon in a very short time. It could be a year, it could be within a few months.
They have the wherewithal, the stored up, preserved knowledge to make a bomb very quickly if they wanted to do it.
Iran is so dangerous. Weeks away from having the fissile material for an entire arsenal of nuclear bombs.
They're very close. They're 6 months away from being about 90% of having the rich uranium for an atom bomb.
Iran is gearing up to produce 25 bombs, atomic bombs a year, 250 bombs in a decade.
Ladies and gentlemen, time is running out.
Iran will be capable of producing alone, without importing anything, nuclear bombs within 3 to 5 years.
If not stopped.
Yeah. Like he's been talking about this since the 90s, bro.
Dude, I'm not taking away from none of that.
Right.
But I'm just saying that when things escalate and that there's something else going on, and sometimes we don't know everything.
I agree with that. And I agree that
with Libya,
there is a lot of conflict amongst the Muslim states and the Jews. I agree with that 100%. And there is a lot of ideology there that wants to wipe out the Jews, wipe them off the face of the earth, wants the Holy Land for themselves. I agree with all of that. But there is something about this guy manipulating our government in these ways, constantly getting people to engage in these wars.
Like I know y'all heard the whole Epstein thing is Epstein is a
Mossad agent.
Worked for Ghislaine.
Yeah.
And, she has ties to the Israeli.
Yeah, her father was a Mossad agent who ended up mysteriously dying.
And he's the one that has all the information on, these politicians or whatever like that.
Right.
And the prince, all for, the Israeli intelligence.
Yeah, and there's a lot of stories and cases of them using blackmail, using these tactics to control high up officials around the world. Like, this is something that they engage in often.
Yeah, why are these files?
And if our country is capable of doing it, you don't think that they're capable of doing it?
Yeah, yep.
This is a small nation that was instated in the 1940s, and they have a lot of interest. Like, they have a lot of interest in making sure that these governments help them, because everyone around them wants to kill them pretty much.
Yeah.
So if you had that, and you have certain people in those sects that probably think that they are the chosen people of God, or think that they are, that everyone else is to do their bidding, then of course there's going to be certain people that think like, okay, it's justified to take whatever tactics we need to take to get our outcome that we want in the world. You don't think that makes sense?
I mean, I think it makes sense. I'm just saying that just because it makes sense, and even if people are pushing that, that doesn't mean that God isn't working.
No, absolutely.
And it doesn't mean that we should be focusing all our attention there and doing a ooh ooh.
What?
And focusing in one spot. That's what I'm saying. Like, look over. You see
Yeah.
how you just looked over?
Yeah.
I'm saying that's what my point is. I'm saying for believers, what is God saying in this moment? What is God saying in this time? What does He want us to focus on?
Right.
And that's something that we're always because our own fear, our own sense of, especially in our old nature, wants to get control, wants to feel safe, wants to feel like we know what's going on,
Right.
Wants to know, right? In that fallacy, we get focused on the wrong things. And that's my point. Like, just what I'm saying about Candace Owens, that's my point. Like, and then you have people who now think they know when they don't really know what's actually going on.
Right.
And for believers, I think it's so important. Why? Because we have to, once we think we know and we don't actually know, we're in pride. And now we're actually blind to the truth.
Right.
And I'm just saying, from even my own standpoint, I can't tell you how many times that's happened to me where I thought I knew and I didn't really know. You know what I mean?
Right.
And learning how to stay like, okay, this stuff is going on. And like everything you're bringing up, like it all makes sense, right? And it's like, yeah. But my point is that, but what are you doing, God? What are you working in all of this?
Right.
Because you are working.
Yeah, and that's where we need to stay focused. But we also, when we have, because there's a huge element, especially of the church in the U.S., that just says, oh, we need to just whatever Israel wants to do, we need to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't agree with that. But I do think we need to look at certain things like that need attention. And if things get too out of hand, you got to deal with stuff.
Yeah.
Like that's that's what we have to do. Like you have to deal with things.
Yeah, and if war is getting crazy over there, and Iran and Israel are just going back and forth, something has to be done. I agree with that.
But I don't think you should be hasty and just jump into something.
Yeah.
Definitely not. People shouldn't be dying for no reason.
Yeah.
Nobody. If we want people to die, and if we're not even thinking that through, we're naive and.
Yeah.
So
I want people to be consistent with their, because for some reason we have this thing where
nobody's
it's like,
consistent in the flesh, bro. Nobody.
Yeah, I know, but that's the problem for me, because it's like you say you stand for something until something exposes you really don't. Like you said, there's a bias there, because when it came to Ukraine and Russia, all of these people that you see that were like, no involvement, we don't need to be a part of this. Now all of a sudden,
Israel,
they're like, oh, if you oppose what Trump wants to do, then I hope Trump comes after you. You know what I mean? Like,
but
they're hypocrites.
You can't control everything.
No,
and
you can't.
You don't know everything that's going on behind the scenes. We in ourselves, like how many things we think we know and we don't know. How many things we think we got figured out, we don't got figured out. And that's the thing with pride.
Yeah.
We are blinded. And when we get deceived, when we get manipulated,
and that's what people don't want to feel like they've been manipulated. But for voting for Trump, because we voted for Tulsi Gabbard in there, you know,
but
expecting.
I think that's the fear, right? You don't want to feel shame. You don't want to feel like you're an idiot, right? Like, oh, I'm an idiot. It's not about that. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, the greater point is, if you realize you've been manipulated, all right, that's the place where God wants to work with you in your pride. That's what I'm saying. Like, These are the places where God wants to grow us and teach us. Like, oh, you stepped out too far.
Mm-hmm.
You stepped out too far, and now you don't know what you're talking about. You don't know where you're going,
Mm-hmm.
right? You got to come back under my covering. That's part of the process of learning with God.
Yeah.
And we got to go through that. And nope, yeah, we don't want to feel that way, but we gotta feel that way, because that's the only thing that's going to get us back to humility and trust God, instead of trying to trust ourselves and thinking we got it all figured out. That's my like overarching point to all this. And if you can look at it, you can see how easy it is to go too far with something.
Yeah.
That
And
makes-
I think people go too far with things all the time. To me, it's like sometimes going too far is good because it shows you. Well, I'm not saying it's good. I'm saying it shows you. Like sometimes when you touch the stove and you get burnt, as long as you don't do real damage, you know what I mean?
Right, but that's my point.
Right.
Sometimes there's no coming back from it.
Mm-hmm.
That's when it's dangerous.
Yeah.
That's my only thing. And people can suggest things that are dangerous and have you going to places that you should have never went to. You know what I mean? Now you're stepping out too far. That makes sense.
Or you gotta look at it this way too. Maybe in the questioning of things, that's how people get exposed to truth too. Sometimes they do realize, like myself, that maybe what I thought or what I understood about certain aspects of religion or faith or politics, maybe sometimes in the exposing of a pattern, and I think that's what that is here. She's exposing a pattern in his behavior, in his language. If from the 80s on, 70s on, you're saying 6 months, 3 months away, 2 months away, it there's a he's presenting it as a looming threat.
Yeah, and then you show the pattern of all of the politicians, the Lindsey Grahams,
Right.
that just go lockstep with what they're
Right.
just
So
always
they're right,
ready
and
to
they're
go to
trapping
war.
they're trapping you with fear too. They're using fear to trap you. So exposing the pattern. We could discuss her semantics on them, but we're talking about the exposing of a pattern of warmongering, of wars and rumors of war. That's what's happening. Aside from her personal opinion of the Jews or whatever it is, we're talking about there is video and evidence of constant fear mongering when it comes to war. When you say, hey, in 2 weeks, in 3 weeks, they're close to a bomb, and that's 40 years ago, and then you keep repeating the same thing every decade, that's a pattern, and that's
It's like
warmongering.
what's his name with global warming? You know what I mean? Back in 2008,
Al Gore.
Al Gore, yeah. We were 5 years away. What was it? 2020? They just were saying this.
It was acid rain.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
was acid rain. It was tectonic shift. It was all these things, and I think that's what people are doing. I think it's aside from the rhetoric. I don't agree with the necessarily the rhetoric because, like I said, you're right. We don't know intention, but we do have video evidence of constant fear mongering from him, from the politicians, and it's a constant decade thing. And they've said, hey, they wanted 7 wars to topple the Middle East. Like I said, like before this, Muammar Gaddafi, we thought Muammar Gaddafi was evil. When you show footage of Libya, he was offering free education, he was offering free farming equipment. Libya was a nice city. We none of us have been there, so we don't know. But we were told it was the epicenter of
Well,
terrorism.
he was a dictator and he was an evil tyrant.
Right, we were told that, but the citizens, the people who lived there, said that's not true.
Yeah.
We were told a certain thing, and then he was dead. And you look at Libya today, and you say, "Whoa, this place is a wasteland."
Well, it's a
You know what I
slave.
mean?
It's a slave trading post now. Yeah.
Right. So we have to take those things in correlation and say, okay, aside from the semantics of personal opinions, what is the pattern? If we're saying, hey, listen, there's a pattern, just like we're able to look at the Democrats and say, look, there's a pattern of fear mongering of race, with sexuality, with all these other things. Why can't we do the same thing with politicians and or presidents of other countries that are asking us to get involved into wars? And we can't say, wait, hold on here. What's your intention behind this war? Because you've been telling us that that they're close to nuclear, they're close to this, they're close to that, and They didn't attack you. You attacked them.
For how many years straight?
Yeah.
Well, we did
So
it
we
with
have to call that
Zelensky.
out.
We did it with Zelensky, no problem. We called him out, you know. But
Right. So I think that's what we like. What I'm saying is that we have to get to the point where having a conversation can't be dangerous. Just the mere fact that you're questioning it cannot just be anti-Semitic because you questioned it. You know, we're looking at pattern here. Just because you say it's anti-Semitic doesn't mean it's wrong. We're questioning the pattern of your president. And there are plenty of Jews who, like Jeffrey Sachs, who said, he's an economist. He said Bibi Netanyahu had personally said he wanted 7 wars. There are other Jewish people who are saying this is wrong. They don't agree with this, and they're Jewish. And how come they're not called anti-Semitic when they speak out against him? But
well,
anybody else
they
who
are
does,
called. Dave Smith is called anti-Semite. He's a self-hating Jew.
right? But
And there's a lot of
what I'm
people
saying
in
is,
Israel that don't agree with
No, that's what they were
Right.
protesting him.
Bibi.
Yeah, like he
Right.
was having his hugest opposition growing right before October 7th, and then he was able
Right.
to suspend all of the elections because of the war.
Yeah.
and there have been many Jews in New York who are openly saying they don't agree with this, and none of that. Aside from social media, you'll never find those footages. Social media is the only place where people can go on and express. I've seen many rabbis come out and speak out against him. You know what I'm saying? So she's not doing anything different than what they're doing, because there's been many rabbis who have spoken out against the Zionist movement. They've said Zionist was started by Theodore Herzl, an atheist. She's not doing anything that's different from what they have said. It's just that she's a black woman, and it's easy to say she's anti-Semitic. But they have
And
been
she's
speaking
friends
out
with
of things
Kanye,
too.
so that don't make
Friends
it
with
easier.
Kanye, and
Yeah.
she's
I
pretty
don't. I agree
popular.
with that. The optics of that was not good. But at the same time, that's the reason the Daily Wire hired her. Was she was attractive and she was saying very polarizing thing. Now all of a sudden she's a monster. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Yeah, as soon as she didn't agree with October 7th, then as soon as she spoke out about Palestinian children being killed, then she was a monster.
Yeah. I don't believe that, but I do believe that people can take things too far, and when they have a voice, they pull a lot of people with them.
I agree.
And I think she does do that.
And so we're making all those points and we're talking about that side of it. But now I want to show you what the Iranian X page has been posting all day. And you guys tell me what this means to you. Pull this up, Mom. And let me read you the caption that they wrote with this. It says, "The whole world will see tonight." This was earlier today.
Their
Look,
X page.
they're posting this.
Oh.
They're posting this. It says that doesn't even have a caption. They just put that up. They posted this. Tonight is the end of Israel. So, again, it's not as cut and dry as everyone makes it out to be. Like, they want to destroy Israel.
Yeah.
Like, or they're just trying to look strong. I don't know. Like, but this is what they're posting.
Yeah. They might be bluffing.
They might. I think they probably are.
But yeah, but again, that's provocation.
Yeah.
You know.
Right. Exactly. Like, what do you expect if your neighbor is stockpiling a bunch of weapons and you know they hate you, and then they start posting stuff. They start posting.
Yeah, that's why
them stroking their gun,
Yeah.
and they're like, tomorrow night Jake's gonna find out. Like,
yeah.
what
Like,
are you
and
supposed
that's my
to
thing.
do?
Like, even if somebody's wrong, that don't make them, now they're right because they're doing that. Like,
Right. But
it just doesn't correlate.
Right.
And that's my thing. Like, you
If you're gonna
can't
do it, you're gonna do it.
you can't be so far gone that you don't see the writing on the wall sometimes.
Right.
That you don't see why these things, like, what's going on here.
Yeah.
I don't want to say why, but what is this?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's why, like, I go into this saying, like, there's a lot of things at play here. There's a lot of things, and there is a lot of weird stuff with Bibi, and there is a lot of weird stuff with how he's handling Israel and how he tries to manipulate governments, and especially the United States. And are we being pulled into something that we shouldn't be pulled into? All that stuff is okay to question, but there is that side of it too, where Iran has been backing Hamas. We know this openly, backing terrorism around the world.
Right, Hezbollah too.
Hezbollah, Assad, all of these things.
Muslim Brotherhood.
And they want death to America and all of these things. So it's like you have to take all that into consideration. One more thing I want to play about this: the Crown Prince, who he's been in hiding or whatever. He posted this video. Now it's going to look like AI. It's not AI. It looks like AI because they're using AI to translate what he's saying. So everybody, they had this verified that he really posted this video, but they used AI to translate what he was saying.
My compatriots, the Islamic Republic has reached its end and is falling. Like a frightened rat, Khamenei has gone underground and lost control of events. What has begun is irreversible. The future is bright, and together we will navigate this sharp turn in history. In these difficult days, my heart is with every defenseless citizen who has been harmed and has fallen victim to Khamenei's warmongering and delusions. For years I have tried to spare our homeland the flames of war. The end of the Islamic Republic. It is the end of its 46-year war with the Iranian nation. The regime's machinery of repression is disintegrating. All that is needed is one nationwide uprising to end this nightmare forever. Now is the time to stand, the time to reclaim Iran. All of us, from Bandar Abbas to Bandar Anzali, from Shiraz to Isfahan, from Tabriz to Zahedan, from Mashhad to Ahwaz, from Shahrikot to Kermanshah, come to the...
Right. So he's basically saying that they're bluffing, basically. He's basically saying that they are falling apart.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe this is the last, attack of a cornered animal. I don't know.
I think from the inside, it does seem like, if you look at, there's stuff that has come out about like mosques are empty in Iran. The Christian church is growing.
Yeah.
Even atheism is growing. So I think there's this underlying stuff going on. You don't hear much about it because
they're not going to let that get out.
No.
Yeah, it's way more controlled there. But I was telling you, I saw videos of mad people in Iran, women taking their hijabs off, dancing in the streets, protesting. Yeah,
and again, like, I think for me, like, the biggest thing out of all this is not to get pulled in fear, right? And to know that there's hope in Jesus.
Right.
Like, where's the hope come from? And it doesn't come from us trying to take things on ourselves and trying to figure it out ourselves. And, because it's not about us being right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right, but that's what I want to avoid too, as far as like, because, Bibi comes and speaks and he says, first it's Tel Aviv, then it's going to be New York. You know what I mean? It's like he's putting that fear in the minds of Americans too. Like, we have to get involved. We have to do something.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's where, like, again, prayer is needed.
Mm-hmm.
We shouldn't be doing anything out of fear.
Right.
That's what Zelensky tried to do. That's what you just reminded
He said the same thing.
Russia's gonna come knocking at your door.
Yeah. And do you see how Trump treated him?
Mm-hmm.
He's not doing that with Bibi.
Yeah.
Don't tell us what we're gonna feel. Don't tell us what. Remember he did that?
You have no cards.
Yeah. You don't have the cards. We have all the cards.
I will say though that if you look at it though, there's been that was an ongoing war versus this.
Yeah.
That hasn't. It's just beginning.
It's popping off now.
You don't know what's really going to happen.
Right.
And America had given crazy amounts of money.
My gosh.
Well, they've given a lot of money to Israel too.
Yes.
But it's just been like,
and God,
there's been so much stuff going on during that war. It's been ongoing. Here, things are just they're just starting to pop off. So it's a little bit of a different situation, just how you deal with it. but I think, man, are we learning how not to get caught up in the hype?
I think so.
Especially as believers.
Yeah.
As the church. How can you govern? I think about it, like, how can you truly govern if you're always, or just be authorities if you're always running off scared?
Mm-hmm.
Or fighting scared.
Yeah.
You know, like fight or flight.
Yep.
You can't.
Yeah. Uncle Denny said they've been saying it for 40 years. They're the bully and it's time to shut them down. PJ Gates said MAGA with some American flags and fire
So you standing
emojis.
You're standing with MAGA.
Yeah. I mean, Trump has his cult following, man, that are going to go with whatever he says and never criticize him. All right, let's move on to this last topic. I was going to get into K. Michelle. Did you guys see K. Michelle on Cam Newton's podcast?
No.
Talking about, I won't play it, but I'll just tell you what happened. So she was coming at black men, blaming them for the state of the family in black culture. And because she now, she's a country artist now. And we have history with K. Michelle. When she was a first young artist, we did a show with her in New York at Singer's Room, and watched her now, like, loving hip hop, all the plastic surgery and everything. And she's now doing country music. So she's been in Nashville, and she was talking to Cam about the contrast there, because we know the culture in Nashville is like, you go to the studio early, these producers and musicians want to be home by 5 o'clock to be with their wife and kids. Like, they don't play that we at the studio till 6 a.m., like it is in hip hop culture. Everybody's smoking weed and chilling and hanging out. Like she was saying, like, there's a difference there. But then she goes on to blame black men for why that is, why that difference exists. She was saying how, like, you couldn't get away with calling women bees and hoes in Nashville. Like, no one would listen to your music. You couldn't get away with the type of content that is in hip hop and R&B in Nashville. Like, it's not, if you're an artist, if you're a man and you're an artist in Nashville, they don't respect if you're not married. You know what I mean? And she was just showing that contrast, but then she goes on to blame, it solely on black men, and doesn't bring up anything that had to do with, like, the things that she's done to perpetuate that culture.
She didn't go into anything that any of the stuff she's done.
Nothing.
None of the things that she was into and, like, renounce it or anything.
Baby daddies and, like, the music she's done,
loving hip hop.
Feeding into the culture.
Nope.
Wow.
Nope.
Yeah, that's where it becomes disingenuous, because it's like, yeah, these are the things, like, that's what we talk about.
Yeah,
like, we were in this stuff, and
yeah,
we realized it was horrible, and you gotta separate yourself from it. Like, it's just that simple. You gotta acknowledge it,
right?
But
she started crying.
Was there any pushback from?
Not, Cam. Not really. He pushed back a little bit. He said he was gonna hold her accountable, and she was like, "Hold me accountable," like, but not. They didn't. They never really addressed it. We'll play it again on another episode and really go and dissect it. But I want to get to this thing with Andrew Schulz and Cenk Uygur on Brilliant Idiots that you sent me before we get out of here. So we got a couple clips here. I guess I'm starting with these, right, Jake?
Yeah.
Okay. So Cenk Uygur was on Brilliant Idiots. They were talking about politics, but then they started talking about religion and how he became an atheist. And he started going on this whole rant about the Bible and the same crap that everyone always says. So let's play it. And the crazy thing was, it was funny to watch because Andrew Schulz, I guess because he had Wes Huff on the podcast, like Andrew Schulz was stopping him. Andrew Schulz was shutting him down. So let's watch it a little bit. He actually was defending Christianity pretty well.
Like I actually bothered to read a lot of the Bible and the Quran because before I became an atheist, I was like, let me try it out. Let me make sure I get a fair
Testament?
shot. Old Testament is filled to the rim with foreskin.
Yeah, because the New Testament. No, it's true. Give me a scripture. I don't.
Okay. So no. One time God comes up and says to the Israelites, "Oh, okay, look, you know what? I want you to go make peace with the other guys, the Canaanites or whoever they are, right? But I'm kidding. Don't actually make peace. Say to them, we'll give you our chicks if you guys cut your foreskin and are like us, okay? And they're like, oh, they got hot women. Okay, sure, we'll do it. And then as soon as their foreskin's cut and they're hurt, go kill them all.
Wow.
That's in the Old Testament. And they do, and they kill them all.
Because they know they're like weak?
Because they're weak, because they just cut their foreskin, right? So luckily that didn't happen to me.
How hot were those chicks that the guys are willing to cut their
So real quick.
What is he talking about?
I know what he's talking about, but he totally perverted that story.
Yeah.
He's talking about the sons of Jacob.
Right.
Yeah.
Jacob's daughter
Right.
got raped basically.
Yeah.
By what are they called? Shem. I can't think of it right now.
I can't think. I just read that too.
Yeah, it starts with an S. The place they were at. Anyway, I can't think of it right now. But whoever they were,
right?
They were in the land of Canaan. He's right about that. God had nothing to do with this.
Right.
Nothing at all.
Yeah.
Like
God told them to go. Yeah.
No, it was their idea because they were mad because they raped their sister.
Yeah.
And like, okay, we're gonna give you. You can have her.
Yeah.
Right, as your wife because he asked, and they're like, okay, but you gotta respect us, and you gotta get circumcised.
Yeah.
Then they killed him because they were weak. That's where that comes from. They actually got rebuked in the blessing of Jacob given to the sons. They get rebuked by him in Genesis 49,
right?
Because of what they did, and that was Levi and.
See, that's where they went wrong, James. You know, they cut their foreskin.
Leave the foreskins alone.
That was Levi and Simeon.
Yeah.
Right? Levi and Simeon? I think so. Yeah. So, totally wrong.
Totally changed the story up.
Yeah. He does that with all the.
But this is what I mean. Like
he really believes it, though.
But he talks like a know-it-all.
Yeah.
Like he knows what he's talking about, and he'd be completely wrong. Yeah.
Foreskin's off, though. Yeah. That seems like a horrible trait.
Go from an atheist. I've never heard of a person that worshipped Islam. Islam was
Became an atheist?
atheist.
Yeah.
How old were you?
When I became atheist? 22.
What I say?
Okay, so here's what happened. I took Introduction to Islam at Penn, and I had a great professor, Professor O'Brien or something like that. He was an Irish dude who loved Islam. And he sold it so heavy. He's like, looking at the poor, the needy, all these great things. And those things are in there. All the books have great things and terrible things, right? So he focused on all the great things. So I kind of got more into Islam. And the sophomore year of college, I was like, I'm not drinking, I'm not eating, I'm not doing hamburger. I mean, I gave up bacon. It doesn't get any worse than that, right? So I'm kind of into it. And then I started reading the Quran more because
That's funny because I saw a meme today that was like, he was like, someone was like, both of these nations don't eat bacon. This is not my war. Anyway.
Like, okay, if I'm going to be a good Muslim, I should read the Quran. I started reading it by myself without the professor. I'm like, whoa, that doesn't make any sense, right? And I flip the book, and I'm like, holy shit, that doesn't make any sense either.
Do you
right?
remember a particular passage that really didn't make sense?
So I'd say that where the straw that broke the camel's back, in this case, almost literal. So I read a whole bunch of the Quran, and great parts in there, but tons of shit that doesn't make sense. Then I'm like, maybe the Bible's got to figure it out, right?
Hold
so
on,
I
hold
started
on.
reading.
You see how he asked. He didn't say nothing about the Quran.
Yeah.
Why is he bringing up stuff about the Bible?
Yeah.
And I don't even know if he does this on purpose. I'm just saying, like, this is the way the devil works.
No,
like,
I think they do it on purpose. Again, it's crazy. It's just like how you can't talk about Israel without being anti. You can't talk about it's open season on Christianity.
Yeah.
You could talk about the Bible.
Yeah.
You could talk about Christians. You could talk about Jesus.
Yeah.
But if you talk about Islam, there's some pushback.
Yeah.
If you talk about the Quran, if you talk about Muhammad, I'm
just getting the foreskin, and we're sprinkling goat's blood everywhere, and it's madness. I get to the Tower of Babel story, and I'm like, wait, let me get this right. Humans worked together, built this beautiful tower, okay? And God was jealous, and then he knocked the tower down, and he made all of us speak different languages, so we couldn't work together anymore. And I'm like, okay, if that God exists, then I'm against it.
I get it.
That's the story that he's going with there.
Does that sound right to you, Mom?
He's making up his own stuff.
Yeah.
In his own, he's making it up in his own image.
Yeah.
To
Crazy.
make himself feel right that he's an atheist.
Yeah.
Because
I can understand that. That makes perfect sense.
Anyways.
That makes perfect sense, Charlemagne.
Yeah. So, and then Jesus came up with love, which was a genius idea. I love you all. And people were like, oh, I like that.
Yeah.
This
When
guy
Schulz
loves me.
stepping
He's
in.
going to take care of me. He's like, yeah, I'm signing up for that. And the traitor they made, the real guy who did all of this is Emperor Constantine, right?
Yeah.
He's the one that put the Bible together.
Here we go. I was watching this and I saw when he said this, I was like, here we go.
See how they always take
Christianity?
You see how they always take credit, bro? You
No,
see how
that's true.
No, but you see how they always take credit?
You know why? Because Constantine's from Constantinople. That's
Exactly.
Istanbul, where I was.
He just found a way to make it Turkish. That's absolute bullshit. Okay, he just found a way to make it Turkish. Now we're not gonna do.
Find out Abraham Lincoln and Elvis Presley are also Turkish.
No.
That's a
Really?
Tell me if I got the story right. Christianity was created by Constantine, and Constantine essentially needed a mascot.
Wrong.
And the mascot was Jesus.
Wrong. Christianity was not created by Constantine. I think Constantine
Codified.
Yeah, he codified he basically made it the official religion of the Roman Empire.
But he put a face to it, right?
No, Charlemagne's right. Okay, because so Constantine pulls together all the different books that are out there. But remember, this is 300 years after Jesus, right?
I don't even think that's true.
Yeah.
I don't think I know what you're talking
It's
about.
the Council of Nicaea.
Yeah, but
You know, Council of Nicaea,
I
that's
think that they found texts that had existed before that. But I think a lot of times we confuse what the council is
But
actually.
there was no religion called Christianity.
Of course, the believers of Christ were Christians. This has happened for years.
Hodgepodge. What
Until the Turks came in.
Hodgepodge.
No,
Constantine branded it. He marketed it.
To be fair, Constantine Greek, right? And
Look at Andrew getting them.
said
He's got his West Huff knowledge
Yeah.
locked in, baby.
Now he's sitting up. Now,
Yeah, he's sitting
hold
up.
Let me explain some stuff.
Yeah.
And so, just like the yogurt.
Yes.
So, anyways, what he does is he puts together the book, the Bible, right? He's like, okay, these books, we don't like them, they don't help. These books, we do like them, and he makes that the Bible. So, he's kind of the creator of the Bible, for sure. But those books did exist. That's why Andrew's right about that, right?
Kind of, for sure. Yeah.
I think
But that's when it takes off, because then Constantine goes,
Well, that's when it stops being illegal. The reason it could take off is because at the time it was illegal. I mean, like Christians were being persecuted like crazy for their beliefs. Then Constantine goes, all right, we're going to make this shit the official religion of the Roman Empire. And then all people are like, oh, well, we can like practice what we're doing and publicly and not have to worry about being murdered. And that was pretty
But
awesome.
he packaged it right.
Well, that's the thing. I think that it's, I think
He's
we
actually
kind of,
wrong about that too, because he didn't make it the official religion.
Yeah.
That was later on.
That happened later, yeah. But he did make it that you wouldn't be murdered for being Christian.
Yeah, but it was also with, well, we got I put a West Huff thing in here just to give some clarity.
Okay.
Remember history with the Council of Nicaea. I think it all had been packaged before. And then I think that there was a meeting of like the different, what would you call them at the time? This is like, there is no Catholicism at this
Clergy,
like,
church leaders, whatever you want
and
to
I think that we're having conversations about like what texts were going to be part of the canon. But I don't think the Council of Nicaea officially canonized the Bible. I think that existed prior to that.
Okay, so
I might be off on this.
No,
but
it's
I don't think the Bible.
either way, it doesn't really matter.
Exactly, because it's the right way to go to heaven.
It wasn't Jesus. And remember, like it was 300 years later. People are like, oh, I think I remember Bob telling me that Fred told him that Susie told him that Jesus did this 300 years ago. I don't remember that at all.
They wrote these books 300 years later. What is he talking about,
bro? He's all over the place. When he tells him he's wrong, and he's like, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, it doesn't really
now
matter.
it doesn't
Yeah,
matter.
right.
So why'd you say?
So
it?
why'd you bring it up as a point then?
These are first-person accounts, and 2 of the canons, and then I think there's one that was
Get
written by
'em,
somebody
Andrew.
afterwards. But I think 3 of the books were first-person accounts of Jesus' life.
Well, what I read, and we'll look into it.
Two are, yeah.
Is that the first one that gets written down is 70 years after Jesus died.
That's Mark?
Mark, yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
70 years,
But
but there's nothing written down. You know Game of Telephone. By the time
So
Jesus does
think
it,
about it. When did Jesus die?
4? Was it 4? What year was it? 4 AD?
No.
34? 34-ish?
So if he's saying 70 years,
Yeah.
what time would it be?
That would be 100.
Yeah.
He said
The
7.
first century, yeah.
Huh?
He said 7.
No, he said 70.
He said 70?
He said
Yeah.
70.
Oh.
Right.
That's why he's like 70 years later. No, dude. Nobody
talk-
believes it was 70
He
years
already
later.
talks fast, and it's like sped up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just to clarify this, like it's even getting lower now,
Right.
because they're finding out more stuff. So it's more like right now the consensus is more around like 40 something, like late 40s. The
AD.
Gospel of Mark, yes.
From about 40 AD.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
which would
40, like late 40s.
Which would put it like about 10, 15 years after
Right.
Jesus died.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and then the other book, like you have the Book of James, that was really early. A lot of the Paul's stuff, that was pretty early too.
Yeah.
So, like, this is where, like, just because you heard one person, and they're all, when you don't want it, just like him,
Yeah.
atheist. I heard Bill Maher say the same thing.
Yeah.
Like they want it to be as far as possible so they
Right.
can have these talking points.
Yeah.
And they're not looking at everything. They just look it up. Oh, it says this. Okay, that's what it is. You know, nobody says 70. You might have heard 70 AD because that used to be the consensus, right? Around 70 AD.
Yeah.
But now he changed 70 AD to 70 years later.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
even that is off.
Yeah. That's what I thought I heard 70 AD
Yeah.
was around the time. Yeah.
And the only reason why they say that is because there's a prophecy in there that talks about where Jesus speaks about the temple being destroyed, right?
Mhm.
Not
And
one rock will be left, right? So, like, well, how could they know that? Like,
Right.
so people,
So they place it around the time.
Right.
Okay. That makes sense.
Later, the first guy writes a book about it.
Yeah.
That ain't even Jesus.
You seen the book?
You see what I'm saying?
No, 100%. But if we're going to take that, and I'm looking at me like defending Christianity right here. But like, if we're going to take that approach, then like we have to take that approach to all of history.
Oh, that's definitely true. Yeah.
So it's like, how much of it are we going to trust? So what I think that we do is like we use other accounts of the time to decide like if there was.
Yeah, like when was when was all the stuff written about Alexander the Great? Like we're finding out this was written hundreds of years later.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
This big miraculous event that happened at the time in other types of literature, you would see people
There's
speak
only
about
one
it.
historical reference, a Jewish Roman writer named Josephus, who wrote about contemporary Jesus.
And what was he saying?
It's a very passing mention. It basically describes him as kind of running a cult.
I would belittle him too.
When did he write that?
Contemporary. So
Oh, okay.
At the time.
his life, yeah.
Yeah, look, the bottom line is what is the central thesis of the Bible? Okay, it's what I would call the Constantine trade-off. What he said was you have to listen to the people in power, okay?
Yeah.
What was the thing that they ate from that got them kicked out of Eden? The tree of knowledge. So do not get any knowledge. That is bad. Do not ever disobey. If you disobey, you're Satan. What was the number one problem with Satan? He disobeyed, okay? So do not do that. Don't have free agency. Don't make any of your own decisions. But we love you, we forgive you, and when you die, oh my God, you're going to get everything. The rich are going to get nothing, and the poor are going to get everything.
Man, when you put it like that, you kind of make it seem like it feel like it was okay for Eve to listen to Satan. Because if it's a tree of knowledge,
it's the same thing.
Yep.
Over and over again. Watch what he says.
you're telling her you can't get any of this information, but somebody comes along and goes, look, they're keeping things from you that you actually need to know, and she goes to eat the apple. Is she wrong?
So there's a whole group of people who call themselves witches and warlocks, I think, which is hilarious. And the reason they do is not because they believe in witches and warlocks, but because what they're saying is Eve was right. Like, we should eat from the tree of knowledge. We should know about nature. We should know about ourselves. We shouldn't stop learning. Religion is wrong. So, but what I'm a little worried about that because religious folks take it so literally, right? They think, oh, those are actual witches and warlocks, right? And Satan is real, and these guys are saying super dangerous things. Get back to obeying, right? So put religion out of it, forget Satan, God, etc. All I'm saying is in politics and everything else, don't obey. Like, obeying gets you nothing but put down at the bottom of the pyramid, and the guy at the top gets everything. That's the whole point of obeying. You and I talked about it in regards to the Democratic Party.
That's
So
a cult.
only
Those
obey-
is what cults do.
Right. So don't obey. But wait, obey when it's COVID and everybody got to wear masks.
Yeah. Obey
right?
that.
Obey
the science.
the false science because it's not real science,
Yeah.
right? When they literally came out with masks don't work, but put on mask.
Yeah.
And you need to be 6 feet apart and stay at home and take this vaccine that's going to kill you or cause disease or cause more problems. All those things we had to obey, right? But don't obey.
Right.
Only obey when it makes sense to you, and they made it make sense to you. So now you need to obey.
And
Come on,
trust
dude,
the
stop
experts.
it. You're religious and you don't get it. You obey all the time, and now you're acting like you don't. Stop it.
All right, so now this video from West Huff was next.
You can just play that one.
Okay, let me see. Where's the...
Council of Nicaea, one of the first councils of the Christian bishops. Well, here's the truth.
That Constantine sees that there are Christians right across the empire, and they need to get along. And there's isolated but non-trivial disputes that are happening. Commissions the church leaders to get together and figure it out. And as far as the historical record, as far as I can see, dictates Constantine's initial statement is really all his involvement in the Council of Nicaea. Apart from that, we have no concrete evidence that he was personally involved in the actual articulation of what took place.
Now, what I've heard is that he wasn't even there, like physically wasn't even at the council.
Yeah. And we know that emperors like to take credit for things, all sorts of things. Right. So if he was going to lay claim of fame to something, he could very well have done that, and we just don't see it.
Did Constantine really influence?
So he may not have anything to do with that.
Not at all. He just was the one that said he just initiated it and helped to get it started. And other than that, I think he was just, people will take Constantine, but I think like he did help to bring Christianity to the forefront in the Roman Empire. But like if you think about the Roman Catholic Church, that wasn't until like that started to become more of a thing probably a few years after him. And the videos that I have, they kind of go into it, and I wanted to show this because it's very interesting.
Okay.
Because we talk about the Nephilim giants, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where did that change? Where did that like go away?
Mm-hmm.
How did that go away?
Yeah.
So the stuff that this is a historian, he's talking about it, and he's
you
talking,
had another West South clip.
You know, you don't have
Okay.
to play that.
All right.
He's talking about it, and he's basically explaining how the early church fathers talked about the Nephilim, talked about the giants. This wasn't something that they knew about this, and it got changed later on through Augustine. And Augustine is one of those Catholic,
right? He's why we
church
have
fathers.
August.
Yeah. So he kind of goes into that stuff. I haven't heard it before. So
Okay.
it's pretty interesting.
Around the second, maybe early third century of the Christian era, where they began to de-emphasize the idea of the sons of God and daughters of men, of the sons of God being heavenly beings. In other words, they're not, they sort of, they continue to argue it, but at least they've sort of opened up the idea that it's no longer going to be that. And in the early church, however, the concept of them being heavenly beings will continue probably for a couple centuries. And I'm not exactly sure why, but I'm guessing that when both traditions become acquainted with Greek philosophy, they become increasingly embarrassed by it. Maybe that's one of the words to say is that, I don't know. And of course, this will culminate with Augustine, who will flat out deny that the sons of God are heavenly beings, by the way. And so I want to just look at a couple of these early church writers. Stop me at any point if you're thinking about it. So this is, for example, Justin Martyr, 2nd century early writer and apologist. And so
Justin Martyr was literally like early hundreds, second set early.
Yeah, right.
Just to put it into perspective of where this come from. This is not too far.
Yeah.
After there were still some. Well, John was probably still around at this time, or maybe, just died. So this is early.
Right.
I'm not going to give you the references at this point. If you're really interested, I could put them online. He says, he's talking about Genesis 6. He says, God, when he had made the whole world, subjected things earthly to man and arranged the heavenly elements for the increase of fruits and rotation of seasons, and appointed this divine law. For these things he also evidently made for man. He committed the care of men and all things under heaven to angels, whom he appointed over them, but the angels transgressed this appointment and were captivated by the love of women. Obviously, that's a connection to that. So in other words, God had made all these demarcations and the angels transgressed the demarcation. That was a no-no. I guess, one of the questions I'm thinking of is like, why did God allow this? And of course, I guess the answer is probably, hey, that's above our pay grade. God allowed a lot of things and even allowed us to sin. So why not the angels? Irenaeus is cool. He was a student of Polycarp, who was a student of John the Apostle, which is really, really cool. And so Irenaeus was writing and he says, For a long while, wickedness extended and spread, reached and laid hold of the whole race of mankind until a very small seed of righteous remained among them, and illicit unions took place upon the earth, since angels were united with the daughters of the race of mankind, and they bore to them sons who were for their exceeding greatness, they were called gigas, giants. Okay, so that continues on. Clement of Rome has a long statement about that. He's a little bit later. Actually, he's not. He's still 1st century. Then we finally get to Augustine. I'm not going to bring it up, but again, Augustine.
So you think? Well, he talks about it. So those were all 1st century, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now he's going into the 4th century,
right?
Which is like a little bit after Constantine.
Right.
Just to put this in like context, historical context, right?
Okay. He's the greatest Christian thinker of the Middle Ages. Basically, especially Western Christian thinking. That would be, of course, primarily Catholic, but not exclusively. From then on, by the way, his dates are about 354 to 430. He wrote 2 masterpieces that became staples. In fact, they're even Penguin paperbacks, The City of God, which basically was a theological justification for the fact that we've basically left the pagan deities of Rome. And it just so happens that he lived during the fall of Rome. Rome was sacked in 410, and the pagans are all saying it's because of the Christian God that this happened. We forsook our gods. And so basically, Augustine wrote a letter to the editor, gone amok. It became about 1,100-page letter to the editor, proving that no, we did not forsake those gods. They weren't gods. They were demonic. The true God is the one we're dealing with here. And by doing it, he wanted to de-emphasize anything that was connecting any of the heavenly beings in the Bible to either demonic or influence. And so he de-emphasizes the Genesis 6 and makes it into earthly beings who are now literarily called heroes and giants, etc. And the church pretty much went with it since then. All I'm telling you is that with Augustine, we have a commentary tradition that begins to change.
For somebody even like a modern commentator.
You get that?
Yeah.
Where's their...
Do you get that, Mo?
Yeah, so he changed the whole commentary around what Genesis 6 was.
Yeah, and it was in a rebuttal to, because Rome had been sacked at that time,
yeah.
right?
And they were saying that this happened because of the Christian God.
Yeah,
So,
because they forsook
their own
ancient gods.
Right.
And he's trying to rebuttal it by making it more of a reasonable, earthly, materialistic type thing instead of. So he takes away the angelic beings, the Genesis 6. He makes them more men. You know, like he changes it.
Right.
So that's the progression. Like, and this is the point that what he brings up here is very interesting.
But to me, it's weird because he could have just equated the Genesis 6 sons of God to their gods and said, no, you were worshiping these beings.
Right, but this is what he
Okay.
says here.
Okay.
Justification, like outside of like Augustine, like when you're looking at, like, it seems, and of course I'm sure they can find other things, but it seems so uniform up until about 350.
I'll tell you what I think. And by the way, Augustine, one of the last thing I want to bring up, he's got a foot in the New Testament and he's got a foot reading Paul because he loved, he was a pagan who converted to Christianity in his maturity, in his 30s. He had lived a full life. And so, and he was one of the first to embrace the New Testament, embrace the Bible as Holy Scripture, but not to reject his Greek tradition as completely unholy, improper. And so the good things from Plato and Aristotle, others he could draw in. Now, that was different, for example, than Tertullian 2 centuries earlier, who said the famous line, what does Athens have to do with Jerusalem? In other words, I was a pagan and I'm rejecting it completely and I'm embracing my new faith, which, by the way, often happens to new believers who might have been embroiled in, other traditions and they reject them outright. And Augustine would have said, God made the universe and the universe has truth and beauty in it. And even the pagans, the Gentiles, had truth and beauty. It just means that it was misdirected and I can help direct it. So anyway, and that's why I think in many respects, without Augustine, we would have had trouble embracing our Judeo-Christian and our Greco-Roman traditions. And by the way, when you mold the two together, you get medieval Christianity, which is what we come from. Now, why did that secular tradition continue? Part of it, I think, is we became comfortable with it, but we became even more comfortable during the scientific revolution, which, if you think about it, we can't help being a part of. There's no way we're not a part of it. Even those who are the most religious of people, we think like the scientific revolution. Even the things that happen on Earth, we think of them in a natural way. We think that God works in the world, but in a subtle way. If I let go of these papers and they stay up, I'm not going to run out and say the hand of God was on them to hold them up. I would probably first try to find a natural reason for why the law of gravity seems to be suspended or anything that happens. It doesn't mean I don't believe in miracles. It just means that I'm predisposed to looking for the natural reason for something that happens. This is the 17th century way of thinking, and it is so immersed, it is embedded in our deepest consciousness along with our faith tradition. So they've been merged together. And when you merge them together, you're always looking for a scientific, rational reason for something, and that's really easy to do with Genesis 6. And by the way, I think I already said this a couple of podcasts before. I fought this, and I still have tension with this. I'm telling you what I think the text says and what it means. And as a historian, it's almost as if I can now drop the ball and let theologians deal with this problem. But since I'm a believer, I have to deal with it too. Even if I'm not trained in theology, I have to look at it from a theological standpoint and say, all right, and now what does this mean if this is true? It means that I have a deeper understanding of what's really going on in the heavenly realm with God, and realize that when God is interacting with human beings, when Paul hints about principalities and powers and other things, that there's a whole lot more going on out there that we're not privy to. Mm-hmm. I'm telling you.
Yeah. So you see how what he said about Augustine, where he was a pagan. He came to Christianity later
in his 30s.
Mm-hmm. And he was into Plato, right?
Right.
Aristotle, right? So these are philosophers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they reason. It's all about reason, right?
Yeah.
So, but it's reasoning based off of materialist
Yeah.
stuff. So see how that plays a factor in how we
Analyze
how
everything.
we see
Yeah.
things, and it becomes, if we're not seeing stuff from a spiritual standpoint, and if we see material first and it affects our spiritual understanding. See what I mean? It's backwards.
Right.
And then you see how that affected how the whole Western Catholicism into Reform, right? How that all progressed and came about into the 1700s, right? You had the Enlightenment in the 1600s,
Yeah.
right? And in the 1700s, you had the scientific movement, right?
Yeah.
Where people started to get into that, and all those things are based off of natural law, right? I just thought that was very interesting.
Yeah.
Because even in terms of this country, it's a lot of Plato, a lot of Aristotle. Like
Yeah.
there's a lot of that reasoning in this country. I don't think it's a bad thing, but when it dictates how you see the Bible, it's perverted.
Yeah.
Or it can be perverted.
And then look at how that progressed into the late 19th century, early 20th century with the psychological sciences coming to bear. We were talking about Freud. We were talking about Edward Bernays. We're talking about like that whole sect of merging that with Christianity and how that has shaped now even how Christians think. Now you look at them psychoanalyzing homosexuality in the church and how they can make sense of all of that because they're seeing it through that lens of Freud.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And so if you're always seeing things through the lens of the material world, you're missing that it's the spiritual world that
Right.
defines the material world,
Right.
right? So now it's inverted.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, what happened with Catholicism? Well, it made the scriptures almost inaccessible to the masses.
Right.
Right? It wasn't you could only read it in Latin. Most people didn't read Latin in Western civilization.
Yeah, for a time you weren't allowed to own a Bible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You couldn't, and it was sacrilege to write it in any other language, right?
Right.
So there was a control there. And again, that's you make it more material. Right? Where it has to be in this language, right? It doesn't make sense logically.
Yeah.
Why would we do that?
Why? Yeah.
So this progression, when you think about, oh, there were angels, or not even angels, but these beings,
yeah.
right, that were engaging with humanity. But then when you don't want to deal with that because it becomes too outside of our nature, now we have stuff today where people don't even believe in miracles. That was for yesterday. That's not.
Right.
God doesn't do any of that stuff now, right? People they just want to read the Bible.
Yeah.
But they don't even want to read the Bible. Now they're seeing it through a very a messed up lens, right?
Yeah, they don't believe in deliverance. They don't believe in the Holy Spirit. They don't. Yeah.
Well, they don't believe in the Holy Spirit the way the text actually says it.
Right.
They want to put their own swing on it. But when we do it, when we're allowing the Word, and when we're always going to God, show me what you're saying, Lord. Show me what you want me to see. Where, just like I said earlier, like when we're seeing what's happening in the material world, right?
Yeah.
And we're not letting fear dictate to us what we're seeing, and we take that back to God, we're trusting in God, right?
Right.
And you see how we've gone away from this. Why is American Christianity so blah?
Yeah.
So like straight.
Yeah.
And, you know why?
Yeah.
Because it was a procession throughout the years, and you see this. That's why. And think about it. Now, a lot of the Catholic stuff becomes more of a Gnostic type thing, where only the elites have the knowledge, right?
Right.
On how to deal with stuff. And you have to rely on your priest. You have to rely on the bishops. You have to rely on the Pope.
Yeah.
It now takes away your authority.
There's a separation. Yeah.
That's part of it, but another part is because church have become routine. And then if you want to get into the deeper things and understand the history of the writers and these stories, you have to go to Bible school. You have to go to Bible college, if you will, to kind of like unpack that. You can't even have these conversations in regular church. Most pastors won't even touch this. You know what I'm saying?
They don't want to go deep with this at all.
They don't want to.
They're too afraid of losing people.
But again,
They're
why?
too afraid.
Why though? Because
that.
Go ahead.
No, because again, like Jamie said, they're afraid of losing people, and most people aren't. They want to hear feel-good messages. They don't really want to hear anything deep to understand. You know, I'm just learning now that an unclean spirit is a disembodied Nephilim. You know, we were told that they're fallen angels. No, the fallen angels are principalities or powers, but the unclean spirit is a spirit that was created unnaturally between celestial and these beings that came down. And I'm now learning that,
right,
you know,
right.
When I say now, I don't mean today. I mean like within the last few years,
Mm-hmm.
understanding what an unclean spirit is, and that when God destroyed the earth with water, it was a rewriting of what was happening genetically
Mm-hmm.
between we look at it as just sin, which it is, but there was genetic tampering that was happening with these beings that were entrusted to watch over human beings, but they had an encounter, and that's when they fell. And I have to admit, that's very hard for a pastor to touch in a couple of sermons. That's months of teaching. You know what I'm saying?
But see, that's my point in bringing all this up is that it got to that point. It got there,
right?
And when you go back to the church fathers,
right,
in the first century, it wasn't a deep thing.
Yeah,
it was a basic thing.
Right.
See what I mean?
But
it's
when
totally
you go
different.
through centuries of dumbing that down and making, and you go through centuries of, like you said, the Enlightenment era, the scientific era, and now the psychological era, it separates us from that concept so far that now we look at it like this.
Like it's crazy.
This ridiculous thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And in the earlier Bibles, the Geneva Bibles, and like I said, when you go look at you look at you know, like I said, we talked about the Apocrypha books and stuff like that. A lot of pastors back then would tell you don't read those. They're not canonized. Don't even touch those things. You know what I'm saying? You couldn't even study historical to say, okay, let's look at least the correlation, and let's look at all aspects of it. You know what I mean? It's only recently that we're seeing more and more younger men like Wes Huff and others who are coming out and actually, you know, talking about it. But for the most part, the what we would call the church leaders of recent, they don't talk about this kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So the average person wouldn't know, you know?
Yep.
Yeah.
And it is so small. Genesis 6 is so small. It's such a heavy thing, but you have to admit, Genesis 6 is short. You know what I mean?
But that's why, like, to me, that leans to the fact that, like, this must have been something that was spoken on before.
Yeah.
Because it's just skimmed over.
Yeah.
Like,
why is it so short?
Yeah.
Because it was known.
It was known already.
It was. That's why I'm saying. I keep saying to us it's deep because it's foreign, but to them it wasn't foreign.
Yeah, and even
we get that. We get that. What I'm saying is, the reason a lot of people that's what the Bible says, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge, because they're essentially given baby food. There's a lot of Christian who's given baby food, and they should be eating actual food, but they're given baby, and they actually get a taste for the baby. They develop a liking for the baby food, and they like that. They like to hear feel good messages. This stuff is so heavy, and especially when you start talking about angels sleeping with women, we think it's a sexual interaction, and it could be. But what if it was something other than what we know? Because apparently these beings were not just sinning against humans; they were sinning against other animals and birds and plants. They were doing all kind of wickedness. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, even the idea of calling them angels is even a misconception. You know, because the concept of angels is a weird thing. Like,
I mean, yeah, you got to look at because then you got Genesis 6, but you got Deuteronomy 32, 8. You have Psalms 82, right? You have all these different passages, where it's like these things start to come out. Where what is that? And then you hear the explanations, and they don't really make sense.
Yeah, you have these cherubim, and you have these seraphim, and you have these other beings. Angels are like,
Well, it means messenger.
Yeah, but even the translation of messenger, that's a certain type of being that God
Their
would
rankings.
send. Yeah.
Yeah,
So that
their rankings.
it's not like we have this idea of like calling all of these things angels. That's not really accurate. Yeah.
We just got used to that.
Yeah.
Saying that.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily our fault, because part of it too is this: we got indoctrinated with the artists of their time.
Yeah.
And the artists of their time started to draw everything like angels, and so we paid attention to the art. This is why false imagery. God said, don't bear no images, because when you start putting in images, it messes with people's mind. So our idea of an angel is what the artist drew. That's what they don't even look like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Our idea of hell, our concept of heaven, all of these things have been shaped and kind of formed in a way that's not necessarily biblical.
And I remember specifically, like I said, this is how your images corrupt you, because every picture we've seen of hell is what? The demons torturing you.
Yeah.
But that's not true. Demons are they're not in hell torturing anybody. You know what I mean? That they don't, this is not their kingdom. You know what I'm saying? This is a sentence. This is their prison. You know what I mean? So we take all these artist things and we kind of make it our own. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the Dante's Inferno imagery is, I think, what you're speaking to. Yeah, that's just like this concept of these levels of hell that the demons are in there torturing. Yeah, but it does say that Jesus send them to the pit. What does that really mean?
Yeah, I mean, I do believe there are demons in hell. There's definitely angelic beings or extraterrestrial beings. I don't know, however we want to call them.
Yeah,
that's what some people believe.
They're definitely in hell, Hades.
Yeah,
they call them Titans.
Right.
Too. Right.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, we don't know everything.
Yeah,
and that's fine.
Yep.
But we can't dumb it down, and that's what we see.
That's what has happened. Yeah,
and I think we're starting to, and this is what's so great about this, like seeing the stuff, having people talk about this, having like this guy, he's a historian.
Yeah,
right. He's talking about this stuff. He's like, I gotta, like, he's saying, like, I'm reading this stuff, I'm seeing all these things.
Right, I have to struggle with it. Yeah, right.
Like, he talked about Michael Heiser, right? And even Wes Huff, like when you have this stuff, now you can't lie to people. It's not as easy to lie to people, and it teaches, there's nothing scary about finding the truth. Why are we afraid of it?
Right.
What are we afraid of? So when we feel a fear, it's a fear of not being familiar to us. Right?
Yeah.
We want it to be familiar. We want it to be what we grew up on.
Yeah.
But
or we're afraid that you're gonna go down a dark path and end up, I don't know, a Satanist or something. I don't know, like.
Right. Yeah.
Like, because that would be the reason for not allowing people to read even apocryphal books, like.
Right.
Because you could get some weird concepts from those books, but if you're not verifying them with other scripture, then that's how you end up on those rabbit holes.
Yeah. Yeah. You definitely you put the canon first.
Yeah.
I would say.
Right.
Because that's verified, and then everything else you can read stuff. Why can't you read Ugaritic text or Sumerian text?
Right.
Like, I mean, if you can, you can find them.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody has translated this.
No, they have.
Have they?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they have. Like, talk about the Anunnaki. Anunnaki are nothing what they try to tell you they are. Right? I was actually looking up that stuff. Nothing what they try to tell you they are.
Yeah.
There's no gold. There's no created men. No. What's the planet Nibiru?
Yeah.
None of that.
So where did they get all that from?
Dude, he just
Somebody
acted
just
like
that
Zachariah
was
Sitchin's.
Zachariah Sitchin. He
Yeah.
pretended he could read the text, and
Right.
he never really could. Yeah, that's right.
Right, but now they have everything online. Like, you can look this up. I was watching something, Michael Heiser. He was breaking it all down. And he was like literally going to the website and showing like these are all the points. This is every place where it says Anunnaki.
That's funny.
Or Anana, and he was showing all of it. So it takes away this whole mystery.
Yeah.
Which is the mystery, the bad mystery.
Right.
That people like
The Joseph Smith that says, "Oh, I had this translation, but no one else can read it.
Right.
Oh, and it's disappeared now, so there's no
Right.
way for you to find."
or the Billy Carsons.
The Billy Carsons
who act like they
he can read Sumerian. He can
Yeah.
read. He's seen the Emerald Tablets of Thoth.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, it's interesting, man. It's definitely. I'm definitely like glad that we live in this time where we can get a hold of this stuff and really start learning more. But yeah, let's wrap it up there, guys. Shout out to everybody. Papa Jeff was chiming in. He said the tribe of Shechem.
Yeah.
A Hivite tribe.
Yeah, Shechem. Shechem is the place, yes. That's where.
And then Emma said, "Greetings, guys. Been a while." Shout out to Emma, man. Patreon brother, soccer brother. Yeah, appreciate everybody for watching, man. Thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure you guys like, share the video. It's always good when we can have these conversations, even when we can have some debates on stuff and just get to the bottom of things on how we don't agree always on everything. So this is the type of conversations that we like having, man. We're a family, we're brothers, and we're just trying to continue to grow and learn and get to the truth. That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
If that's something that you want to get behind and become a part of this community, going over to the Patreon, link is in the description. Sign up over there. Help us out. Help us keep this thing going and keep growing this thing. We're really trying to grow it. Also, if you want to get the merch, it's on our website. Link in the description. And we might not be back next week because we are heading to Puerto Rico, right? I don't know if you guys. Tuesday is the night before we leave.
Kinda hard,
It's going to be rough trying to do that.
And we'll be away.
It's already rough for me.
Yeah. So yeah, Mo's falling asleep. when you were like, did you understand that, Mo? He was like,
I was like,
yeah, I understood that. I understood that. Yeah, yeah.
I'm interested in this stuff.
Yeah, Augustine.
Right? James, was that your dad?
Nah, but yeah, so we might not see everybody. Maybe we'll try to just go live for a little bit from Puerto Rico or something while we can, and call James, and we can just talk about a little bit of stuff and go live while we're away, just so we don't leave everybody hanging. But yeah, other than that, appreciate everybody. Love you guys. God bless. We'll see everybody when we see you. Peace.
Young lion, go live, yeah. Young lion, you rich, yeah. This kingdom has room, yeah. Go and fight people.